Hey, hi kids, how are you? It's Monday. It's June 30th, 2025. Nice to have you here on Lake Wissota, a foggy Lake Wissota. It's very steamy out there, but the fog will eventually lift, and we've got some dry weather ahead for a little while, which was good because it was a really wet weekend for some folks here. But coming up on the program this morning, well, it is June 30th, so the legislature is supposed to be all done with the state budget because the new budget is supposed to start tomorrow. And it won't because Republicans are still in disarray. We'll have the latest on that. We'll talk about the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling on birthright citizenship. That wasn't really a ruling on birthright citizenship. But it is concerning nevertheless. We'll talk to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward about their group's lawsuit against Elon Musk when it comes to billionaire bribery. We'll talk to one of my Courier Newsroom colleagues from North Carolina about their U.S. Senator Thom Tillis standing up to Donald Trump and voting no on the big bloated boondoggle of a budget bill, and then announcing he was not going to run for reelection. Profile and courage. Kristen Lyerly will tell us about her trip to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Selena Heller will talk about her weekend with the Blue Angels. We'll catch up with John and Gordy, Jane Matnair, Parker Olson, and more, all coming up at 6:06 all across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. We'll see you soon. All right. Let's do this.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on a Monday morning, June 30th, 2025, last day of June. Flip over to July tomorrow. Summer is just picking up the pace here. It's another beautiful morning, foggy morning up here to welcome you live from Lake Wissota, from wherever you're spending your mornings, listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, or listening to or watching us on one of the other different platforms out there. Thanks for starting your day and your week right here. I got a question. How high is the water by you? Depending on where you live. I mean, here in the Chippewa Valley, like 6 different people needed to be rescued off the Chippewa River over the weekend, which is ridiculous. The water is so high. The river's running so fast. And what would prompt anybody to think, oh, yeah, I should get on an inner tube and go down this thing. It'll be fun. Not fun. And downright dangerous in some places, or, has potential to be fraught with peril, shall we say. If I look down the bank there, I'll see that my boat and my boat lift are still there. My dock is still there, but my dock sections are hanging on for dear life. Thank God for zip ties and bungee cords, as the Chippewa runs a little high running down here. So hopefully all that rain over the weekend hasn't caused too much hardship out by you. Coming up on the program this morning, the state budget had the potential to be done by today's deadline, but that's not happening. Thanks to Republicans in disarray. We'll update Friday's Joint Finance Committee meeting that was supposed to start at 10 a.m. and started at 10 p.m. The U.S. Supreme Court made a major ruling on birthright citizenship that really wasn't about birthright citizenship so much as it is about how federal district courts do business. So it does stretch out the legal fight to once again protect another basic right that is under assault by Donald Trump and friends. We'll talk to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward about their group's lawsuit against the world's richest man, hoping to stop people like Elon Musk from ever again being so bribery adjacent during Wisconsin elections. Then we go talk to one of my North Carolina colleagues from Courier Newsroom, because on Saturday, North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis seemed like a rare profile in courage for the GOP, voting against President Trump's big bloated boondoggle. And then on Sunday, Tillis announced he'd decided not to run for re-election next year. Have you ever seen the hashtag on social media, ETTD, that stands for everything Trump touches dies? Well, Thom Tillis' political career, boom, done. So we'll talk to one of my colleagues from our North Carolina outfit, because that does open up the prospect of a Democratic pickup of an open seat in a swing state like North Carolina. Dr. Kristen Lyerly will be along in less than a half hour to tell us about her weekend excursion to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Up North News reporter Selena Heller shares tales from her weekend with the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels during the Chippewa Valley Air Show. We'll catch up with Civic Media friends John and Gordy, fresh off their show in Madison, and Jane Matinaire to find out what she'll be talking about in her 9 a.m. show. And to you as well, if you care to join us in the comments section like Alicia did, saying, oh, hey, hi there. Hi, Alicia. Thank you for writing in. On YouTube, in her case, you can join us by Facebook as well. Just get into that comment section and let us know what's on your mind today. Or you can email us, radio@upnorthnewswi.com. You could also email in your response to the question of the week from our weekend newsletter. I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit, but first let's say hi in Madison Studio A2 to one Parker Olson. Mr. Olson, good morning. How are you?
Doing pretty good, Pat. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It was such a good weekend. It was the most nothing that we'd ever planned to just be around the house and yet still productive at the same time. So we did stuff, but we didn't make the to-do list with, 6,000 things on it. We just kind of did things as they came up. But I spent more time in my hammock than I can ever recall. Usually I'll be there for 5 minutes. And I'll be like, oh, I should go do this or I should go do that. And this time it's like, no, it was a beautiful day. We were in the shade, the hammock's in the shade there. And it was just so nice. So,
and it didn't rain 30 seconds after you got in. That's great.
No, it did not. It did not. Let's see. From Jim in Brookfield. Good morning, Pat, on the text line here. Southeast Wisconsin did not receive as much rain as other parts of the state. A summer perspective. I often joke how when we reach Memorial Day, you blink and it's the 4th of July, but January seems to take like 6 months. Well, I blinked and here we are at 4th of July week. I know. And people go, 4th of July is coming up this week, this Friday. And people are all like, oh, summer's half over. I'm like, no, it's not. No, we've got all of July, all of August. Don't rush it. We'll be just fine.
That's pretty close to halfway.
No. The summer solstice was 6 days ago. We got time. We're okay.
But I've been done with school since like May 15th. So,
well, yeah, if you consider that to be summer, sure. Did you work some Mallards games?
I did. I worked a Mallards game on Friday and then had a Nightmares game, 2 of them.
I'm sorry, a Nightmares game?
A Nightmares game, yes. That is the softball team.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, you had a bad day? So, okay. No, it was a nightmare game.
No, it was very good. They had a walk-off win.
All right. Well, that's great. You always like to see that. Also from Alicia on YouTube, my kids were in Minneapolis over the weekend, and oh my, was I productive. Yeah, you see, when you get the kids out of the house, that'll happen. And she mentioned Green Bay was a buzz when the Blue Angels flew over yesterday. We saw the Blue Angels flying here as we were running errands around Chippewa. And we could hear them from our house all weekend. We couldn't quite see them. They were just kind of past the horizon, but you definitely heard the air show throughout Saturday and Sunday afternoons. But then as they were flying away, they flew through Green Bay and did a flyover at Lambeau Field. I just saw some video of that on social media.
Oh, sweet.
That looked super cool.
Yeah. I was seeing a ad for the air show in Oshkosh. I don't remember when that is, in a month or so. Yeah, I'm starting to think about going. I've never been. I kind of want to go. It seems really cool.
Brittany Merlot is off today, but when she's back on duty, you got to talk to her. She is Ms. AirVenture. She loves the EAA. She camps out there for the entire week, literally camps. So you got to talk to her about that. Roger puts up on Facebook, I was in Wisconsin Rapids yesterday. All the gates were open on the Wisconsin River at the Rapids Dam. It was a little humid this morning as I was rolling out the refuse. Yeah, trash and recycle pickups are a day early this week in Stevens Point. Yeah, I can't actually see out the windows. They're so foggy right now, so steamed up because the temperature, it'd been in the mid 80s, low 80s throughout the weekend, and now it's in the low 60s. And yeah, there's quite a lot of fog out there. It was a little damp taking the garbage out this morning. Tony's like, the EAA? Yeah, we're talking about the EAA. And Alicia says, OMG, AirVenture. I take vacations specifically for it. So you'll find friends if you go.
I guess. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I'm going to have to have the whole crew go.
Yes, take the crew. Absolutely. Let's see. Nothing else over there on the text line. Just want to make sure I got everything. Oh, did you notice above me and behind me, the bookshelf? Those lights that I put up there? You remember those lights?
I do remember those 3 lights that worked and 4th light that
and the 4th light that didn't. And I got the nice little UPS truck showed up with the power whatever and the light whatever to make the 4 lights work. And I got that, and I was going to work on that yesterday. And just by sheer stupid coincidence, if it had happened just a few hours later, you would have seen them all hanging. One light still stuck to the top of the shelf. The others all hanging because they're all, strung together, just hanging down the shelf because the other 3 of them, the tape gave way that had them up there. And
I wish we caught that on air. That would have been so fun to watch on camera.
Wait a minute. We already caught on air when behind me here, where there used to be a Wisconsin map on the wall, and it literally fell off the wall while we were on air. And fortunately, I've got one behind me that says home, and the state of Wisconsin replaces the O in HOME. So happen to have that to fill right there. But yeah, at some point I wouldn't, knowing my handiwork, wouldn't be surprised to have something else literally fall off of this. So
how stable is that bookshelf?
I did get that bracketed to the wall before the grandkids arrived. I got that much done. So,
Okay.
Which again is no guarantee because the 3-year-old, she is mobile and I could see her. In fact, remember the up on the top here was the gumball machine that had M&Ms in it. And I had to put it up on the top shelf because they were raiding it. They're all the time looking for more M&Ms. They were like, lab rats, going for pellets on Sugar Shock. Yeah. And I'm glad that she didn't see it because that little monkey would have just climbed right up those shelves if she had a chance. Tony pops up. I'm not rooting for the bookshelf to fall apart, but it would be pretty funny to see Pat's face. Well, that depends on whether the bookshelf hits me in the back of the head or not. But yeah, it would be something
entertaining.
Yeah, there is the prospect that something would fall, an entire shelf would give way, and I would not even turn around. I would just kind of look right at the camera here, like, yep.
That kind of just seems like a moment you look into the camera and just like, this is my life now. Yep. Things just fall apart around me. This is how it works.
When you got my set of mechanical skills here, you got to keep that music handy. You just never know when it's going to come into play. But things have worked today so far. And the only thing that you can't see if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube is that while the shelf is well organized and while I'm sitting here and everything looks fine, what you can't see is the floor. And you can't see all the little piles of paper and, of course, the lights that have fallen down. And there's a Yacht Rock captain's hat down here.
Well, you got to have the captain's hat on hand.
There's a little travel pillow for when I'm in the hammock.
In case you get tired during the show. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep, there's a boat bag back there for when we get on the pontoon, but we couldn't because the river was too high. You would not be able to get the boat down from the boat lift, So
I don't know.
Oh, no, I suppose not. You're going to have to come up here and go for a ride,
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah, we'd be good with that. In fact, Todd Alba has talked about doing that next week when the Northern Wisconsin State Fair comes to Chippewa Falls and opens up here as it does every year the week after the 4th of July. So yeah, next week, either Thursday and or Friday, Todd Alba will do his 2 to 4 p.m. show live from the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, and I will join him as well. It would be nice to do, my show from the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, but at 6 a.m., the only thing open are the barns, and
I don't love the idea of random moos and
just random mooing as we're trying to talk about the day's news. And so you see what I did there? That just would,
you don't even get a rim shot for that.
Would not even necessarily work. So, all right. So we've got a busy one up ahead. And I mentioned before our question of the week from our Sunday morning newsletter, and you can sign up for it along with all of our newsletters over at upnorthnewswi.com. And after the news that both Tim Michels and Eric Hovde are each thinking of maybe running for governor next year, I ask, who do you think right now will be the Republican nominee for governor next year? Will it be Tim Michels? Will it be Eric Hovde? Will it be Josh Schoeman, the Washington County executive? Will it be some other politician? Or will it be some other rich guy who's never been in elected office? So you can answer that question throughout the week. From the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend part of your Monday mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Well, I see the comment section is busy already. Better go see what's going on over there.
All you had to do was ask who the Republican nominee is going to be. Jeez.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even that. It was some folks took issue with the way we described the show today.
What?
Yeah, it's all about the Trump budget and all right. A little early in the morning to be calling each other pathetic. Let's settle down there, kids. Tony saying, I'm sure Republicans would say the same of Dems, but Republicans, have no bench, which is weird because for the longest time, it was Democrats that didn't have a bench. But now they've kind of built theirs back up, and the Republican bench, not terribly deep. I mean, I'm not saying that there's nobody out there that would run, but there's no obvious choices of people that would run.
It's always Facebook. Why is it always Facebook?
You know, the comments on YouTube are pretty nice today. You know,
I as far as I know, they're always nice on YouTube.
But you know,
I've only ever seen
Facebook gonna Facebook. You know,
yeah.
Yep. There we go. All right. Coming up after this fine program is a finer program, Matt Nair on Air with Jane Matt Nair. She'll join us at 8:50 to tell us about her weekend and what's coming up this week. But I can tell you now that Shali Pittman, Civic Media's new news director, will be joining Jane and Greg at 9:30. Then at 10:30, we got this garden, urban gardening and a farming initiative targeted at children. And of course, this shouldn't be a thing. On the Todd Alba Show from 2 to 4 this afternoon, Todd has to miss the first hour. So yours truly will be hosting the 2 p.m. hour along with Trygve Olsen, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. And if you are not familiar with Todd's show, on Wednesdays, Trygve and I join him for the first half hour of the show. But today, Trygve and I will be co-hosting the entire 2 p.m. hour. We are hoping to be joined by State Senator Kelda Roys with an update on the state budget. Again, unless some kind of news is broken and she can't join us, but otherwise we'll have Senator Roys on there. Little sports now first, and then we'll talk more about the state budget. It used to be that if I told you Orlando Arcia hit a tying home run with 2 outs in the 9th, that'd be a good thing. But Arcia now plays for the Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies were down to their last out in the 9th at American Family Field yesterday when he hit that game-tying homer, only his second home run of the season. The Rockies went on to win it in 11. Final score 4-3. The Brewers still took 2 out of 3 from the lowly Rockies. They remain 2 games back of the Cubs in the National League Central. Bryce Terang now has a 13-game hitting streak. A day off today before beginning a road trip to New York and Miami. The Brewers will play the Mets on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then they'll spend the Independence Day weekend playing the Miami Marlins on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoons before coming home a week from today to start a home series against the LA Dodgers. And then the Nationals. And then it's the All-Star break already. Baseball season just zipping along here as well. But anyway, back to this week. Brewers and Mets, again, starting tomorrow, 5:35 each evening, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Pregame at 5:35 on stations across the Civic Media Radio Network. Dave Parker, the Pittsburgh Pirates legend and one-time Milwaukee Brewers DH, who is set to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame next month, died over the weekend. Dave Parker was ubiquitous to baseball characters of the 1970s, playing for 19 seasons, 11 with the Pirates. He was the National League MVP in 1978, won a World Series with Pittsburgh in 79, another with Oakland in 89. And then in 1990, he spent 1 season with the Brewers, hitting 21 home runs. He made the All-Star roster as a Brewer, his 7th All-Star selection, though he did not play in the game. It's going to be a bittersweet occasion when Dave Parker is inducted in Cooperstown at the end of next month. Dave Parker was 74 years old. One more sports note, Bobby Portis, one of the league's top reserves, has agreed to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks, a 3-year, $44 million contract to remain a fan favorite with Milwaukee. Nice to have him along. All right, well, it's a case of deja vu at the state capitol on the budget, which is due to start tomorrow, but it's not ready yet. Republican disarray is holding up a budget bill in much the same way Republican disarray has been holding up a federal budget in Washington, D.C. In both cases, it's about disagreements on making spending cuts that are severe, but not so severe as to cost them their majorities in 2026. The Joint Finance Committee was supposed to meet Friday morning at 10 a.m. to work out the final details of a budget bill. Then they pushed it to noon, then 2 p.m., then 4 p.m. They actually didn't get their act together and start meeting until 10 p.m. And even then, they didn't finish their work because they said they still have not reached agreement on what to do with things like childcare, the UW system, Medicaid. So the committee did release some of the money that's supposed to be allocated for new literacy programs, but it's really not clear when Joint Finance will meet again to tackle these final items so the Assembly and Senate can finish work on a budget that was supposed to be done by today. In the Senate, Republicans have an 18-15 majority, so that means they can only lose one vote. And there's at least 3 Republican senators right now that are not willing to sign on to just anything that Republican leadership puts in front of them. So the question remains, do the rest of the Republicans say, look, we want to get this done, and so we'll try to get some Democratic votes on this? Or do they just give up and say, well, we're not even going to try to pass a budget? Again, State Senator Kelda Roys will tell us more about any outreach to Democrats coming up when she joins us in the at 2:30 this afternoon on the Todd Alba Show. Over the weekend or on Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling on birthright citizenship that isn't as broad as President Trump is claiming, though it does stretch out the legal fight to protect yet another basic constitutionally guaranteed right. But this Supreme Court has already ripped away women's health care rights, so why not take on birthright citizenship? But it really wasn't as much about birthright citizenship as it was about their own judiciary. Right now, federal district judges around the country, if they find something is unconstitutional and they put an injunction in place, it goes nationwide, because something unconstitutional in Wisconsin is unconstitutional in Iowa or Tennessee or anywhere else. But this Supreme Court said no. Said no. The federal district judge in that district can make a ruling, and it applies to the people who brought the case in that district. But the Trump administration can go on and pursue whatever it wants to pursue in all the other districts, unless y'all get together and do something like a class action lawsuit. And that's something that Justice Sotomayor called a travesty of justice, because it is. Again, it's a fundamental change in basic rights and the basic ways that our judiciary operates. But the way that this Supreme Court operates, you have to hang on to your basic rights with both hands, because this is a court happy to rip them away. Coming up next, Kristen Lyerly. Thanks for making some time here as part of your Monday mornings, powered by Up North News. More live from Lake Wissota after the Midwest Farm Report on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Oh, hi there. How are you? Okay. You're not back in beautiful northeast Wisconsin. Are you way up north? No, you're somewhere else even. All right. I love this game. Our next guest is a mime.
This is going to be great radio.
I know. Okay. She's smiling this time. She's nodding. She's shaking. She's thumb upping. Yeah.
I'm in Vermont.
How nice.
Oh.
I like this getaway.
I thought you'd be.
Wow.
We're going to New Hampshire today.
Must be lovely this time with all that snow. Snow.
You know what it's lovely with?
Snow.
It's lovely with progressive people who you can have a reasonable conversation
with. Oh my God, there's Democratic socialists. You can't swing a cat without hitting a Democratic socialist up there.
They just don't realize what a bubble they live in here. As I'm listening to the OBGYNs talk, I'm like, oh, the rest of the world isn't really like that right now.
Come on, you've been to Madison, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Great. What are you going to do on the 4th?
Go to Boston.
Oh, well, as one does. Yes.
We're taking a vacation.
I know. I love this. Thank you for sharing some of your vacation with us.
Sure. Happy to.
Is Kreger's trying to sleep in? Is that why you're being so low key here?
No, he just went to go take one of the bikes out to the car.
Oh, you and your bikes. Such fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he's still wearing the campaign jersey.
I know. I'm like, really? But we bumped into some folks and it's a talking point.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. Well, good. All right. We'll get going here in a second.
He also doesn't charge a lot to wear it, so it's easy for me to afford.
He is easy that way. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have Hans Breitenmoser, a dairy farmer from up near Maryland, Lincoln County, see what all this rain has been like for him and a lot of folks who've been delayed getting their second cutting of alfalfa done. We'll have Chad Holmes along as well, and Dan and Dan. We'll have Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area talking about any progress on the state budget, and Dan Hagan from WJFW Newswatch 12 tells us what he's covering up in the Rhinelander area. That's all tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, State Representative Angela Stroud will join us. She'll be talking about a Republican bill to address removal of lead water pipes in Superior and why she voted no on it. Spoiler alert, the words corporate giveaway come to mind. So we'll talk to Angela Stroud about that coming up on Wednesday. But we are joined now by Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who this is a getaway week for her. And she's been so kind as to join us from her many destinations. When we last left Dr. Lyerly on Friday, she lit spill that the hotel she was in was right across the street from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. But she ain't there now. Dr. Lyerly, good morning.
Good morning from Burlington, Vermont.
Wow, Vermont. My goodness. Oh, wait, let me look out the window there. Oh, you're right. I see Democratic Socialists just like falling out of trees. There's so many of them there. Wow. I'm sure
it's pretty remarkable. I mean, the landscape is beautiful. The weather's been amazing. The people are living in a whole different place than where we live in Wisconsin.
Do they all talk like Bernie Sanders just out of affection for their senator, or?
No,
Okay.
but we came here to celebrate the residency graduation of Craig's daughter, Mackenzie, who's coming back as a new OBGYN doctor in Green Bay. And it was so cool to be surrounded by all these OBGYN doctors who practice here in this blue state where they're very safe and very progressive and very sheltered from what's happening outside of Vermont, with one exception, one notable exception. I had a great conversation last night with a high-risk pregnancy doctor who has worked for 2 decades in research in high-risk pregnancies, and he is on the verge of losing all of his research funds and trying to figure out how to piece it all together. Very frustrating.
It is extremely frustrating, and we'll just take my mom as a representative of the entire population. Maybe that's not fair, but when I called her a few days back, she was just surly. And I'm like, what's the matter? And she's like, she was just so mad because she had just got done watching like either a CBS Sunday morning report or something about all these NIH grants being canceled, all this medical research that isn't being done. My mom's not a doctor or anything, but she saw, and it must have been a preview of the full report because we watched the full report on CBS Sunday morning yesterday about these women facing cancer battles and finding out that they can't be part of these clinical trials anymore because they've been cut. And the anger wasn't just at the cuts, but that these bozos still insist that nothing's getting cut. They keep saying, oh, we're just getting the waste and the fraud and the abuse and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that is such a lie. And yet they keep telling it, knowing that they have just enough people who believe it. But I'm Kristen, everybody else who sees through it is just beyond outraged at this.
For those of you who are having a hard time grasping the concept of gaslighting, this is the real life thing that is definitely hitting home. These are those consequences already that we are starting to see and feel in our real lives. And Pat, if this big, beautiful bill were to pass, this is 2/3 of the seniors in this country rely on Medicaid. So many of the folks in this country who live with disabilities, moms, babies, veterans, we can't wait until this hits home for the people that we love the most.
Yeah. Look, it's got right now, and this is the Congressional Budget Office, which is headed by a Trump appointee, I hasten to add. The Congressional Budget Office has it at $1.1 trillion in health cuts, 11.8 million Americans losing their health care. And they keep saying, oh, it's budget savings, budget savings. No, it's not. It's all going to tax breaks for the very rich. This is an immense transfer of wealth, where rather than taking the money out of your pocket, they're taking your health care that they would otherwise pay for and give that money to the rich. By the way, it is taking money out of your pocket. Again, from the CBO, the top income earners will see a tax cut of $12,000, a tax cut of $12,000, while the lowest income Americans will see their tax bill go up $1,600. So when people say, why are they racing to pass this by the 4th of July? Why are they racing to pass this by the 4th of July? Because as more Americans learn about this steaming dung pile, they are not happy. And their only hope is to pass this thing this week because you know it, Kristen, more people are learning what's in here and are saying, this is not what I voted for.
We're starting to see it over and over again. And if you look at it from the other perspective, Ron Johnson initially objected because it would increase the deficit. Well, it still does, even though he has caved, which we all knew he would. It still does increase the deficit. I think the number I saw was $2.4 trillion.
Nope. It's now $3.3 trillion that it's added to the deficit, where Ron Johnson said, I'm a no on it, but hey, rim shot alert here. I was very happy with my social media post. Somebody take Ron Johnson's spelunking because he's caving again. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Good work.
And then you had Republican Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina vote no on a procedural motion that could have killed the bill if only one more Republican had joined him. But it was only him and Senator Rand Paul. And so it passed by one vote. And so Thom Tillis, the very next day on Sunday, said, yeah, I'm not going to run for reelection because he already knows Trump is going to find somebody to primary him. And we're going to talk to one of my North Carolina coworkers coming up an hour from now. But I just love how, Ron Johnson, I'm going to stand in the way. He caves. Lisa Murkowski, I'm going to stand up to Donald Trump. She caved. I mean, the editorial cartoon of the weekend was Trump putting, patting Susan Collins on the back. And on the back, he's put taped a little sign that says sucker on the back of her, because I mean, really, you all think ripping healthcare away from 11 million Americans that we're going to buy the whole waste, fraud, and abuse thing? Give me a break.
I don't have any words, honestly, Pat, because it is so, I see it so clearly, and I know you do too. But, I was on a call with Senator Elizabeth Warren last week, and she mentioned that only 1 in 4 Americans understood what this bill meant. But
Right.
it's going to hurt every single one of us. And that's why we have to have these conversations. We have to reach out to our representatives, even if we feel like it's not going to make a difference. And I definitely feel like it won't make a difference where I live, but I'm still making the calls because they need to know. We need to use our voices.
Speaking of Senator Warren, she put up a post over the weekend, 10 ways you will pay more under this bill. Your utility bills will go up as we lose clean energy investments. Your rent will go up as predatory housing companies can jack up prices. Your college tuition will go up as Pell Grants are cut. Your student loan payments are going to go up. Your medical school costs are going to go up, making it harder to get doctors in your community. Your grocery costs will go up as SNAP benefits are cut. Your prescription drugs are going to get more expensive as co-pays increase. Your Affordable Care Act marketplace insurance premiums are going to go up. Your employer-funded insurance is going to go up, and you might lose health insurance entirely, meaning that trip to the emergency room could actually bankrupt you. And that's just 10 of many ways that people are going to be negatively impacted by this bill. Where does it go from here? They're going to have a vote-a-rama today and eventually throw it back to the House. And it is still possible, knowing what we know about House Republicans, it is still possible that all it takes is like 2 of them to go, no, we don't want to pass this. And then suddenly it all falls apart. So it's not a done deal yet. That's why those phone calls work.
We even saw people like Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out against aspects of this bill. I mean, there is so much junk in this bill. In addition to the big things that you hopefully have heard about, there is junk like the inability for states to pass regulations against AI for the next 10 years. That's really scary. We can't let AI run roughshod for 10 years. What has happened in the last 10 years in technology in this country? I can't even imagine what the impact would be on all of us.
Tony writes on YouTube, Kristen is making calls and posting on Congressman Weed's social media. I love it.
Well, when we were done debating during the campaign, we shook hands and he said, keep attacking me. And I said, okay, I will. So yeah. I made a promise. I got to keep it.
You got to keep it. Alicia noting, my son is on Medicaid. It's the best way to get the treatment that he needs. Mm-hmm. And again, coming back to the original point, if you still hear, oh, nobody who deserves their benefits is actually going to get their benefits cut a nickel from Derek Van Orden, Tony Weed, and the others, you are being gaslit. Just read what's in there. You'll understand. Mm-hmm. Let's close on the positive side. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's hear about that.
Have you been there?
No.
Oh my gosh, Pat, it's everything. So they've got the featured display right now is 50 years of music on Saturday Night Live. And you walk in and they've got this montage of all of those things that you saw and you remember and are ingrained in pop culture. And you're watching it and saying, oh my gosh, I remember. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. At one point, Craig said, James Brown was performing and Craig said, oh, every time I see that, I think of Eddie Murphy in the hot tub. And we turned around and there's Eddie Murphy's robe from the hot tub skit. And it was just thing after thing after thing. And then you walk in and you see the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And they had a big thing on Bruce Springsteen because it's the 50th anniversary of the Born to Run album. Just all of those things that at the Everly Brothers, there's a tribute to 1984, the greatest music or the greatest year in pop music history. Yes. I mean, all of those things. Even Craig, I had to stop him from singing. He's not very good at it. So I was like, honey, maybe like quieter. But we were all singing because you couldn't not.
Well, answer this question about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from Tony on YouTube. Wants to know, is there a picture of Pat in the yacht rock section of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No, Tony. I
should have brought one.
Not yet.
Not yet, anyway. Speaking of James Brown, and going back to CBS Sunday Morning, they had a story on Maestro Michael Tilson Thomas, a very famous conductor, and he credits James Brown with part of his very animated conducting style.
Oh,
That
really?
yes, he got to meet James Brown and was influenced by his music and just kind of took that style to his conducting. So it ain't just rock and roll, that's impacted by rock and roll and the things that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That would be very fun to see. I'm very jealous. And then by the time 4th of July rolls around, you won't even be in Vermont anymore.
We're actually leaving today to go ride our bikes in New Hampshire, check out the presidential mountain range, and then we're going to Boston for the 4th of July to enjoy fireworks with the Boston Pops.
So nice. Wow, that's great. Yeah, we just decided to do Summerfest on the 4th of July.
Hey, listen, you're not slumming. It's an amazing lineup that weekend.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. We'll talk more about that a little bit later as the week goes on. But first, a reminder that coming up yet on the show, Selena Heller is going to tell us about her weekend with the Blue Angels, something that's become an annual tradition for her. So she'll be joining us in just a bit. Still to come, Jeff Mandell from Law Forward talking about the lawsuit against Elon Musk and billionaire bribery at election time. But first, today's history lesson is next, as we always do, mornings, up north and live here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Sign up for those newsletters over at upnorthnewswi.com. Back in just a bit. Wow, what a nice reminder that I know how to be a broadcaster again. Wasn't it last Monday that I just couldn't talk or anything? It was.
You have good days, you have bad days.
I think it was, I believe it was Friday the 13th, wasn't it?
It could have been. I don't remember. I remember I tried to wear contacts that morning. It was just a disaster. So, look, Pat had a smooth segment finally. Yay. You left out the part earlier. I caught it during the segment that this new resident you were going to go get is Kreger's daughter.
Yeah.
Never
She's the
knew
reason
that.
we met. She was my mentee. And then after I was running for state assembly and after George Floyd happened, I remembered that she said that her dad was a police officer.
Wait, you had a mentee and you ended up dating your mentee's dad. I mean, come on.
Right?
Do you practice that growl, you cougar? I mean, come on. That's just
cougar. He's older than I am.
Oh, is he? Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. He looks pretty young though.
Well, it's all that biking, of course.
It's all the years of good living.
Yeah, that's it. Here's somebody who's positively glowing after her weekend with all those
good morning
hunka pilot boys.
Oh, goodness sakes!
Yeah,
I might be falling asleep during the show this morning. So in case you ask a question and I don't answer, that means I've just nodded off.
That's fine. I'm glad you had fun. Sleep is overrated when it's your weekend is one big party. Did you get? Oh yeah, you did get my note about the other tapes.
Yes, I just got them in.
Okay, got it. So let's see. Do I have time to do that? Yes.
I was wondering if that was Craig's daughter. So neat.
Do you need something there, Mr. Parker?
I'm only seeing the one.
Right now. I know. I'm just getting them from her, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna download them during this commercial break, and I'm gonna upload them to you during the next commercial break.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you.
So they're just downloading right now.
I was expecting them to go straight into the Dropbox.
Oh no. I really should just set it up for Selena to have access to that Dropbox since we just play the video anyway. We don't make an audio version of it. Okay, that should be everybody. So I will upload those during the news, and we will get going in 30 seconds. Kristen Lyerly did not lie in our last segment, referring to 1984 as one of the greatest years in music ever. That would include the album Sports by Huey Lewis and the News that claimed the #1 spot this week in 1984. Here's the thing about 1984, the year that Selena Heller was born, and she joins us now from Eau Claire here.
Nice.
In 1984, there were only 5 #1 albums. There were only 5 albums on the top of the chart because each one was so good it stayed at #1 for so long. They were, of course, Sports. And then the other 4 were Thriller, Purple Rain, Springsteen's Born in the USA, and the soundtrack from Footloose.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the Mount Rushmore of the year 1984. Agreed?
As a young person who doesn't know a lot of 80s music, that's crazy that I recognize all of those.
Absolutely. Yep.
You don't know a lot of 80s music? Oh, man.
I know.
I'm 22.
I know.
We'll get you there, Parker. Stick with us, buddy.
Yep. Coincidentally, on this week in 1984, Bruce Springsteen failed at their first attempt to shoot a studio video for Dancing in the Dark. So they kind of pulled a Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live. And they went to a concert at the St. Paul Civic Center and brought in a doe-eyed 19-year-old actress, Courtney Cox, and put her in the audience. And then Bruce brings up Courtney Cox to dance with him. And that was the start of her career.
And that's how all white women my age learned how to dance.
Hey, it worked. All right, let's go way back. This week in 1939, when you think of Frank Sinatra, you think of the older guy, get the voice way down there, like Joe Piscopo used to. But we all forget that he got his start as a really, really young crooner. And so here's a little bit of him from when he first began with the Harry James Orchestra. His first concert was this day in 1939 in Baltimore.
From the bottom of my heart, I love you.
There was a lot of crooning, a lot of swooning. The Bobby Soxers. Oh, how they loved hearing that from Frank Sinatra. Little Frankie Sinatra back then. He did all right after that. On this day
Parker?
what's that, Parker?
Has Parker heard of him?
Frank Sinatra?
Oh, no.
I believe he's outraged at you right there.
Just checking.
All right, I know. You know what? Fair question. Absolutely.
Yeah.
On this day in 1559, France lost its king, King Henry II, because he was mortally wounded in a jousting match. So if you're king, maybe watch from the luxury box from now on, okay?
What a way to go.
On this day in 1937, the world's first emergency telephone number is introduced in London, 999, compared to the 911 that we use here. Happy birthday to the lead singer of the Little River Band, Glenn Sharrock, who is 79 years old today.
This is like Australia's version of Yacht Rock.
Yes, absolutely. He was born in England, but he and his family moved to Adelaide, Australia when he was 10. And yeah, they had a ton of hits as Australia's version of Yacht Rock. And again, 79 years old today. Boxer Mike Tyson, 59. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is 40 years old today. The first Chevy Corvette rolled off the assembly line in Flint, Michigan on this day in 1953. And I know you're thinking, well, wait, wasn't Friday Drive Your Corvette to Work Day? Yes, because it's only celebrated on the Friday closest to June 30th to mark that 1953 when the first Corvette rolled off the assembly line. This is National Bunny Rabbit Week, if you have rabbits for pets. We did. We had 2 different rabbits as pets over the years. In fact, one year.
I had bunnies.
What's that?
I had bunnies too.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I can't remember what year it was now, but the girls were still much younger. And Sherry took the girls to Oakwood Mall in Eau Claire. And I stayed behind. I was doing housework or whatever. And it either was my birthday or a couple days prior like this. And they come home with a bunny. And they're like, I'm like, what is this? Like, oh, it's your birthday present. I'm like, No, it's not. That's not my birthday present. That's how you're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell it to me as my birthday. Here's your birthday present. You get to scoop rabbit poop for the next several years. Congratulations, Dad. So it's National Bunny Rabbit Week. And finally, this is International Day of Parliamentarianism, honoring the parliamentary system of governments, a unique and enduring system of preserving democracy as the standard for political representation, otherwise known as a bunch of pompous old windbags gather around and say, Mr. Speaker, as they launch into speech after speech. So, Selena, we're going to hear much more after the news, but, the next 60 seconds is all yours. If I just ask you to comment for a moment on hanging out with the Blue Angels and the rest of the folks at the Chippewa Valley Air Show.
Oh my goodness. It was such a beautiful weekend. And weather-wise, it held off. The rain held off. So we had a great weekend. We had record turnout at the Chippewa Valley Air Show on Saturday. So it was packed, but it was beautiful. And our show went up. The week last week was pretty sketchy because of all the rain, but it all happened. It all came together, and a lot of people had a fun time. And so we're going to talk about that a little later.
Yeah, we've got several clips to play from folks, including somebody who first saw the Blue Angels for the first time at an Eau Claire show 27 years ago.
Yes.
Which means you may have covered it for this. You should go back into the old TV clips. You might have interviewed this young man. You never know.
Yeah, that's possible. I'll have to search.
Yep. So we're going to hear more about that as she continues. Kristen, can you hang along, or do you got to get back on to riding your bike in Vermont?
I think we got to get to New Hampshire, Pat. But
okay.
Have a delightful day, everyone.
Yes, thanks for the visit. Have safe travels. Have a lot of fun.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you a little later. Selena will join us after the 7 o'clock news, plus Jeff Mandell and more on these mornings powered by Up North News. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Take it easy on me.
That always reminds me of that movie with Will Ferrell. I can't remember what it was called. It was like Will Ferrell and Marky Mark, and they were cops.
Oh, yes. Yeah, what was that?
And Will Ferrell loved LRB, which was the Little River Band.
Oh, God. Will Ferrell. The other guys.
The other guys. Oh, Craig's over here.
Of course, Craig knows it. Craig probably feels like he's lived it sometimes.
Have you lived that movie?
With some of your rookies that come on board.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming on board during your break, your vacation. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, my goodness.
Sure. I love to start off the week with you people.
Friday, of course, 4th of July. Thursday, will you be in transit?
We are going to be in Boston Friday. I can probably join. I don't see why not.
No, on Thursday, because Friday we're off for 4th of July.
Friday you're off.
But
Thursday.
You could be along on Thursday for the festivity. She hasn't looked up yet. She will eventually.
She'll see it.
I forgot about your birthday.
Time of the year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. Yes, I will.
All right. If you got nothing else to do, so.
What time?
What's that?
What time?
I'd say the history segment would work,
All right.
We'll see. Maybe Selena will be there. Maybe we'll just open it up. We'll have everybody. Hans Breitenmoser will be here. Everybody. Let's see how many boxes can we get on the screen here,
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're gonna break the internet. Not in any of the fun ways, All right. Go have fun.
All right.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, have fun.
Thanks.
All right. Oh, hey, I got to get those things uploaded. Hang on.
I was about to ask.
Okay, hang on. Now, these are going to have longer titles than what I have in the script, but just look for the names or the important parts here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Come on. Here we go. What's the one that I gave you?
I have Taylor Miller.
Okay, I do. So here's Deandra Baker and Adam Bryan are coming up. And did one of them must not have loaded. Let's see. Adam Bryan.
There's two Taylors.
There's two Taylors?
Taylor Miller, Taylor Heister.
Oh, okay.
I need
Taylor Miller, Taylor Heister. You have Taylor Miller, but you need Taylor Heister. Okay.
Correct.
That's the one that didn't. So let me get that here. Oh, that's why. Okay. I see. There it is. Okay. All right. Upload. There it is. Okay. Just started uploading that to Dropbox. I'm not going to have time to put a link in the notes, but you see them right there in front of you, right?
I've got 3 of them so far.
Okay,
I'm waiting on
Heister. Taylor Heister is on the way. Heister.
Okay.
Damn, you killed her.
1 minute, just saying.
2 seconds, 1 second, finalizing.
I thought you meant to live.
No. Sorry, Dropbox there. All right, so they're all there now.
Yes.
And Selena, do you get
order?
to my notes here? I can just tell you what I've got in there right now. Okay, the order that I've got them in, and it is purely random.
30.
Come on.
How I initially sent them, Adam Bryan.
So you want Adam Bryan first.
Yes, and then
15.
Oh geez.
Hurry up.
Taylor Miller.
Okay, and then
Deandra, and then
Taylor Heister. Okay,
Yep.
I have fixed them in the notes. Here we go.
Thank you.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Joined as well by Parker Olson in Madison Studio A2 and Up North News reporter Selena Heller, who joins us from Eau Claire. Welcome back. It's nice to have you here up north on this Monday morning, June 30th already. Still to come, Selena's going to tell us more about the Chippewa Valley Air Show and talking with the Blue Angels. And then at 7:30, we will be talking to one of my colleagues from Courier Newsroom in North Carolina about the Trump big bloated boondoggle of a budget bill and how North Carolina's Republican senator voted no on a part of it over the weekend and then promptly announced he was not running for reelection. A real profile in courage. And then in our next hour, we'll talk to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward on the lawsuit against Elon Musk to try to prevent more billionaire bribery during Wisconsin's Supreme Court elections. Brittany is off today, and so as I look just to see if I can share anything remotely weather related with you, because we did get a lot of rain for those few days there. Now we've got a dry period coming up. It's still going to be warm throughout the course of the week, and so keep it tuned to your local Civic Media radio station throughout the course of the day for updates on the forecasts. Let's see. Rob from Tigerton should be here somewhere. There he is. Good morning. It's cloudy, light fog, 66 degrees. Tigerton got only 12/100ths of an inch of rain, but 20 miles down the road in Clintonville, they had 2.6 inches, which, yeah, makes sense. He says there was major flooding in the Clintonville area, including flooding along Highway 45, Lots of water there along the lake. He took some pictures of the flooding after the rains ended in Clintonville, and he said just 5 miles from his house, northern Waupaca County had 60-mile-an-hour winds. And I know at one point there was like an 82-mile-an-hour wind gust near Milwaukee yesterday as this front went through. So hopefully folks didn't get too much damage. But as I noted last hour, even here in the Chippewa Valley, the Chippewa River's running really high, really fast. Several rescues were needed yesterday from chuckleheads who thought, oh, let's go tube down this thing, something Selena Heller would never do. But would join us now from Eau Claire. You were at the airport instead for the Chippewa Valley Air Show, which is always fun. I always can hear it from way up here in Chippewa Falls. I mean, it gets really, really good and loud. But again, a healthy crowd on hand. And how many of these have you worked at?
Everybody was asking me that over the weekend, so I had to kind of figure it out. I think what started it all is I first went up in Fat Albert, the C-130 of the Blue Angels in 2010. And then after that, they asked me to be part of the committee. And so that puts this whole thing together. And so ever since that,
So
I've been part of
15
this.
years. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So however many air shows we've had since then, but I threw up in Fat Albert, so I didn't know.
And yet you came
That
back
was
for
kind
more.
Yeah. And the neat thing about it is every air show I kind of have had the opportunity to do something fun. Like one year I was in it was before the show, and they're like, there's a Jelly Belly team, like he does tricks in the sky with his airplane. He's just retired a couple last year or two ago, I don't know. And then there's a truck that he lands on that speeds down the runway, and they're like, can you help us? And so, and I've known these guys for years, but I thought, I don't think I'm qualified for anything. But I got in the truck and they're like, you're going to help land him on the truck. And it was like, I really don't think that. So my job was to tell them that abort. We were too far at the end of the runway. And we had to do that.
So
but part of the show,
his safety depended on you doing something for the first time that you'd never done before.
Yes,
what
I
could
did
possibly
not
go
think
wrong?
that was a great idea.
but that one worked. So at what future air show did he crash and die? Because it had to have happened then by now, right?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, maybe not. But
well, he's retired safely. He's on the ground.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good.
I did have to. And part of the show is that the funny part is like, oh, he tries and he doesn't land on the truck, and that's that's part of the show. But also, I did have to say abort, because we got to the end of the runway and he wasn't on it. And I thought, oh my heavens, this is not something that I should be doing.
Alicia writes on YouTube, Selena, I am so jealous. She said the first time I saw the Blue Angels in person was 2002 when I was in Pensacola for A school, and they would practice daily. And that's the thing. These, we're talking just now about the Blue Angels. Definitely a precision team, to put it mildly. And so you got a chance to talk with them, and let's have some of the audio. Tell us about some of the folks that you talked to.
So all right. Well,
what's that, Parker?
The first part.
Parker, I thought you were going to say something there. Okay. No. Okay. My apologies. Okay. I heard something. So go ahead, Selena.
So last week, before the Days of the Air show, when they were first getting into town, I got to talk with several of the just the different teams that came into town for the show. So the first one is Commanding Officer Adam Bryan, and he is one of the pilots of the Blue Angels, and so which we know represents the U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps, and of course showcase their precision and the power of aviation. So they are a team of over more than 100 members. And so they come in and, set up, it's very regimented. They have the whole thing. And we have to follow all of these rules. It's very specific, but he talks about, you see them up in the air, and how does that translate to what we see down on the ground, where they're flying 18 inches apart, 400 miles an hour. 400 miles an hour. Right. So this is Adam Bryan talking about some of that precision.
So for our signature diamond formation that you'll see this weekend at the air show, we are upwards of 12 to 18 inches apart at any given time when we're flying. It's extraordinarily close for a flight demonstration team, but it takes a tremendous amount of trust and work between us flying. And then we get into the Delta formation, or all 6 aircraft. We're going to be a little bit farther away than that, but still fairly close to one another.
What's the chatter like on the headset?
I get to speak for about 45 minutes straight. The pilots listen to me, and they listen to the cadence that I provide them with my voice inflection, the volume that I like to use. So I speak a lot, and then everybody else has little parts where they need to speak. Everything that we do is based on exacting procedures, and we know when any given person, to include myself, is having an off day, we can actually hear it in their voice when they're talking.
Yeah, you don't want the off day.
Can you imagine the off day?
No, because I saw them flying in the diamond formation at one point as we were, driving around over the weekend there, and yeah, they're moving at hundreds of miles an hour, 12 inches apart, just so precise. Which again tells you that this has to be a very precision aircraft that they are operating. Where there's no wiggle room. Who do we hear from next?
Petty Officer Taylor Miller. There's a lot of people that we got to have in our air show here in Eau Claire that are from Wisconsin. So this was their hometown show, they called it, because their friends and family could come, and we have a space for them to come and watch. So Taylor Miller is part of the Blue Angel team on the ground. He does video, watches the weather, things like that. And he is from Appleton.
So this is actually really great for me. So 27 years ago, my parents brought me to my first Blue Angel air show, and that was right here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So coming back here 27 years later is absolutely surreal. I still have pictures from that day. So I'm actually flying tomorrow in the 4-jet. I'm doing my backseat ride, so that will be exhilarating.
That's a good way to put it. Exhilarating.
Exhilarating.
All right. What else we got?
So we have had all sorts of teams come into town and provide entertainment for the crowd. So another one is the U.S. Air Force F-16 Viper demonstration team based at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. And the head of that team is a female. So I wanted to talk with her, and she has a 9-person team, and they're all men, but I asked her what it was like to be a role model, and this is Master Sergeant Deandra Baker.
It's something I have definitely taken for granted being a female until we go to the shows and the little girls want to take pictures with you, or we're at another show and you hear girl power and all the females come up to you and just want to take pictures. So you definitely forget that you're a role model until that moment, and it makes me proud, to be able to influence more females to come into a very male-dominated industry.
That's awesome. Again, the whole role model thing is so nice. But then again, so are you.
Thanks. They all told me, one of their favorite parts is just interacting and talking to the kids and getting to see and talk to the kids, and so that's one of their favorite things.
All right, we've got one more visit. Who are we talking to?
So this is Major Taylor Heister. He's the commander and pilot of that F-16 demo team. So they secretly did a paint job on one of their jets because it's the anniversary. And so they painted it red, white, and blue, and it's very noticeable. It's pretty unique. And he talks about that, Taylor Heister.
I would like to know what service means.
What service means to me, obviously we have a unique role of serving in a very elite team, representing the several 100,000 American military members that are stationed around the world. So service is near and dear to our heart. We are at the core of this, just ordinary active duty American airmen that have the unique opportunity to serve here and provide a combat capabilities demo to the world.
Also have the unique paint job behind you.
Yeah, so the airplane that you see behind me is the 1974 YF-16 paint scheme. Last year was the 50th anniversary of the F-16, and this year turns 51. And we're on our second year of a 2-year celebration of the 50th anniversary of the airplane.
Have you been to Wisconsin before?
I have. I had a chance to fly at Oshkosh last year, and that was obviously a dream come true as a little kid that wanted to grow up and do air shows. So to be back in Wisconsin, the hospitality is unmatched. It seems in the Midwest entirely. We always have wonderful luck out here. And I think the military and patriotism, obviously the roots run very deep here in the Midwest, and we're grateful to be here.
It always strikes me as an audience that is very grateful for their service. They know they're not just there for entertainment. These are men and women serving our country.
Yes, and that's their first and foremost thought, but also, that recruitment aspect of it when people see all of this happening and like you heard, this is their dream. This is their dream come true to get to be able to fly all of these things and be part of these things. And they're grateful to be in Eau Claire, like Taylor said. And so my job was hospitality. That was my area to kind of have them all come and give them a place to talk and hang out and eat and just kind of hang out every night. And so it was just fun to do all of that.
Sounds like a real hardship, Selena. I don't know how you did it.
Not a bad gig.
Other than, complete and total lack of sleep, but you'll catch up later.
A couple hours.
Good.
For 4 days.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing all that. It sounds so exhilarating and nice of you to get up early and recap it all for us. And, I think you'll be a part of it the next time they're in town too.
I think so. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think so. And they did a nice flyby of Lambeau Field. The Blue Angels did afterwards. Saw that all over social media and Wausau. Some folks got to see them as well. All right, Selena, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
And or a good night. Get some sleep, as the case may be. Yeah, exactly. A local update is coming up next for some of you. And when we're all back together in 15 minutes, Michael McElroy from our North Carolina Courier Newsroom outlet talks about a Republican senator there voting no on Trump's big bloated boondoggle and then announcing he won't run for re-election, putting an open seat into play for Democrats to possibly take back the Senate. That is coming up from the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. All righty. Once again, Whiskers didn't bite you. So.
Oh, good job, Whiskers. Oh my gosh, he was under the bed the whole weekend.
Oh, I'll bet.
He was hating the air show.
Yeah, it's true. I forgot. There's all kinds of pets that are just starting to recover now from that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. How often do they come? It seems rather scattershot. Like maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 4 years.
Yes, we can apply for them every 2 years. So we do. And if we don't get them, this is the third year since we haven't. So,
okay.
And we need a demo team like that otherwise to have an air show. So then that's when we get them, they say yes or no. And if we get them, then we have an air show.
Okay. And I thought it was really nice that you guys, somebody put up on social media, just your whole team. I saw you there with all these other folks, and it was just really nice. I mean, talk about a happy assignment,
Oh yeah, and it's neat because it benefits the Boy Scouts, but I don't have anything to do with the Boy Scouts, and a lot of the people don't. It's just a group of community members coming together to do all this, and they each have their own expertise, and so it's a good group.
Cool. All right, all right. Go get some rest. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. 30 minutes from right now, we'll have Jimmy Kuska here to talk a little bit of sports from over the weekend, and we'll talk a bit about the Brewers-Rockies game in just a minute here. And Jane Matnair will join us at 8:50 to tell us what's coming up on her program starting at 9 o'clock. A reminder that Up North News now has newsletters for every day of the week. You can sign up at upnorthnewswi.com. In today's edition of the newsletter, Christina Laurie talks about travel detective Peter Greenberg, who is a proud Badger. He's been travel editor for CBS News, but graduated from UW-Madison, and talks all about how UW-Madison turned him into a travel guru. Also, a continuing series from Food Network, 25 iconic eats and drinks from America's Dairyland. On the menu today, Norwegian meatballs, which you see more here in Wisconsin than in many other states. And so she talks more about that. Again, sign up for the newsletter, upnorthnewswi.com. So about sports, Orlando Arcia hits this tying home run for the Rockies. I mean, they're down to their last out. Brewers are leading. It's the bottom of the ninth inning, and he hits only his second home run of the season. Unfortunately, he's not a Brewer anymore. So that took it to extra innings, where eventually the Rockies went on to win in 11 innings. Final score was 4-3. The Brewers took 2 out of 3 in that series. They remain 2 games back of the Chicago Cubs. Bryce Terang now has a 13-game hitting streak going on. The Brewers are off today, on their way to New York and then Miami after that. The Brewers will play the Mets Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. Each evening, coverage will begin at 5:35 on several Civic Media stations. Head over to civicmedia.us to learn more. Dave Parker, who most folks associate with the Pittsburgh Pirates because of his 11 seasons there, but he also played a season for the Milwaukee Brewers in 1990. Dave Parker passed away over the weekend at the age of 74. It's going to be bittersweet in Cooperstown when Dave Parker is inducted July 27th into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So he knew that he had been elected, he was going to be inducted, and now will be fondly recalled after his weekend passing. Bobby Portis is going to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. He declined his player option and instead reached an agreement on a new 3-year, $44 million contract to be one of the most popular sixth men in the NBA today. Little tip of the cap to Jim Schmidt, the outgoing chancellor at UW-Eau Claire. This is, I believe today is his last official day at work. He has been on the job for exactly 12 years. He began as chancellor at UW-Eau Claire on July 1st, 2012, and has taken the university, my alma mater, to new heights in so many areas, from a program standpoint, sports, facilities, science. So much has changed on that campus since Jim Schmidt began his tenure here. He's moving on to James Madison University in Virginia, if memory serves correctly, where I'm sure he's going to do extremely well there too. But he made a real difference, not just on the four corners of that campus in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, but throughout the Chippewa Valley, throughout the local economy, the impact that the university has. And so, Jim, again, thanks for all that you've done. We will miss you and wish you all the best moving forward. Let's do a quick budget update here as well. The Joint Finance Committee of the Wisconsin Legislature was supposed to meet Friday morning to work out some of the final details on a state budget, which is supposed to begin tomorrow on July 1st. But that won't happen because Republicans are in disarray in the state capitol. I know, just like they are in the U.S. Capitol. And in both cases, you've got people who are demanding even more damaging spending cuts, and others who recognize that maybe most folks want their tax dollars used for value that will come to them and not to somebody in a higher tax bracket. Well, anyway, the Joint Finance Committee was supposed to meet at 10 a.m., didn't meet until 10 p.m., and even then, they didn't finish their work. Some of the biggest issues remain unresolved, including department budgets that control things like the UW system, Medicaid, child care support, some very big ticket items. The big question is whether Republicans in the Senate, the 18 of them, they have an 18-15 majority, well, they can only afford to lose one vote. So will they get something that will satisfy all but one of their members. If not, if two or more say they just can't agree, will the Republican leadership then turn to Democrats in the state Senate and say, let's make a deal and let's get this done? Or do Republicans just say, well, we can't agree amongst ourselves and we don't feel like compromising with Democrats, and so we're just going to go home and not pass a budget bill at all? And the current budget will just stay in place, which means nobody will see any funding hikes or funding cuts or changes in services or new ideas that will be put into play. And basically, you'll have a lazy legislature taking the blame for not passing a budget. That's a risk that some of them may be willing to take. We'll talk to one of those Democratic state senators about whether there's an opportunity for Democrats to be brought into the negotiating table, and has it happened already? State Senator Kelda Roys will be part of the Todd Alba Show at 2:30 this afternoon. I'll be filling in for Todd during that 2 o'clock hour, along with Trygve Olsen from the Lincoln Project. So again, join us along with Senator Kelda Roys at 2:30 for the latest update on what is happening with the state budget. And one more note, Parker, it's a big 50th anniversary this year. Whoops, there you go. It's a big 50th anniversary this year for a Wisconsin landmark product. Light beer from Miller. Tastes great, less filling. I would recommend a Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel story on it today that you can find all about how it basically saved brewing in Milwaukee. I mean, Miller was a distant third to Schlitz and Pabst back in the day. And then Miller comes up with Miller Lite and that great marketing campaign. And the rest, as they say, is history. So a lot to be said there. So happy anniversary, Miller Lite.
Very.
All right. Coming up next, we'll talk to my Courier Newsroom colleague from North Carolina, Michael McElroy. And thank you so much for spending part of your Monday mornings with us, powered by Up North News. We'll have more live from Chippewa Falls after the Midwest Farm Report here on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Mr. McElroy, how are you?
Good morning, Pat. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So, what was your day like yesterday?
Well, it was my birthday.
Oh,
so I refused to let that deter.
Okay.
But today is obviously going to be a busy day.
Oh yeah, jeez, that's crazy. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a surprise was this inside North Carolina?
Oh, not 9.
Oh, it was. Okay.
I mean, because like, as you kind of said the other day, this Senate battle has been geared up. We've been preparing for this forever. What Democrat versus Thom Tillis is going to be a close race. So that Tillis isn't a candidate, or will not be a candidate is big news. Yeah. Cause Tillis is huge here. He's huge nationwide, but he's especially huge here.
Okay. All right. So is there, for Democrats, are you guys looking at like a big primary or just a couple of people, or is there like a shoe-in or anything like that?
Well, right now it's we don't know, because the scuttle for this whole time has been former Governor Roy Cooper was eyeing that seat. And that was the Titan, that was the Godzilla versus King Kong thing that we were looking for. But he hasn't made it known whether he's going to run. And Wiley Nickel at the moment is the only one, a former congressman pushed out through gerrymandering. And he is a good candidate, but he's far from a shoe-in to win. I think Cooper versus anyone else that they come up with to replace would be a absolute win for the Democrats.
Okay, cool beans. All right, we're going to get going in 2 minutes. So I'm going to tuck you back in the waiting room, and I'll come get you in just a bit.
Thanks.
You. 10 seconds. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have dairy farmer Hans Breitenmoser joining us as usual from up in Lincoln County. We'll have Chad Holmes joining us from Wausau, Dan Schaefer from the recombobulation area, Dan Hagan from WJFW, Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander. On Wednesday, we'll have State Representative Angela Stroud from the Superior area talking about a bill that purported to address the removal of lead water lines in the Superior area. But she voted against this Republican bill for understandable reasons that she will tell us about. That's coming up on Wednesday. If you can't catch the show live, you can pod this program. You can listen to us anytime on demand. Subscribe to our show as a podcast on Spotify, on Apple, and you can catch back episodes over at civicmedia.us. And a reminder that we now have this new Sunday morning newsletter, Sunday Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, all about Wisconsin politics. Head over to our website, upnorthnewswi.com, and be a subscriber. In yesterday's edition that came out, we also have our question of the week, and it's about who will the Republicans run for governor next year? Now, obviously, we still don't know what's going to happen with Governor Tony Evers, if he's going to run for a third term or not. But our question to you is, now that both Tim Michels and Eric Hovde have said they might be interested in running for governor next year, who do you think the Republican nominee is going to be? Will it be Eric Hovde? Will it be Tim Michels? Will it be Josh Schuman, the Washington County executive? Josh Schuman, I should say. Will it be another Republican politician like Congressman Tom Tiffany? Or will it be just some other rich guy that wants to come in and try to waltz right into the governor's office through the Republican primary? What's your best guess right now? You get that question of the week at our newsletter at upnorthnewswi.com. Well, now they're going to be playing this same guessing game in North Carolina after the surprise news that their Republican state senator is not running next year. That announcement came only a day after Senator Thom Tillis stood up to Donald Trump and voted no on a procedural vote dealing with Trump's big bloated boondoggle of a budget bill. But he was a rebel for all of one day before announcing he was not going to be running for re-election. Michael McElroy is the political correspondent for the Cardinal and Pine, the Courier Newsroom outlet for North Carolina. And Michael joins us now. McElroy, how are you?
I'm great, Pat. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to have you here. Belated happy birthday. Did not realize that yesterday was your birthday. Quite a bit of news to come down. So we had heard, just from a very vague 30,000 foot overview, that the North Carolina Senate race, Thom Tillis was going to be running for reelection, but we kept hearing it was going to be a tough fight because we know North Carolina is a swing state like Wisconsin. But just because we heard it was going to be a tough fight, was it still a surprise that Thom Tillis said he was not going to run for reelection?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was a big surprise. And one of the reasons is that Thom Tillis, if you're looking at it from that big picture point of view of who do you want in a tough fight in a increasingly purple state for Republicans, it would have to be someone like Thom Tillis. Because when all this scuttle was about Mark Robinson potentially challenging Tillis in a primary, while it's possible that Mark Robinson was the far right candidate, while it's certainly possible he could win a primary, he would have no hope of winning a statewide Senate race in North Carolina. And so if Republicans are going to maintain that seat, it's going to have to be someone like Thom Tillis, someone who has a bipartisan approach. But of course, a bipartisan approach is not at all what Republicans want. And it's that bipartisan approach is what got Thom Tillis essentially fired. I mean, he said he wasn't going to run for reelection, but that's because Donald Trump didn't like the way that Tillis voted, and so he said that he would challenge him. So Tillis was almost essentially pushed out, not just resigned.
Right.
And he didn't resign, but said that he wouldn't go for reelection.
Right. And look, when people say, well, why would Tillis do that? Why would he go against Trump on a vote on that budget bill? The thing that we remind people of here consistently is that North Carolina is one of the more recent states where Republicans agreed to expand Medicaid, something that still hasn't been done here in Wisconsin. And, North Carolina is still a swing state. I know not everybody necessarily sees it that way, but Thom Tillis no doubt saw that there might have been an avenue for him, not going to the far right. And now he hasn't. Now he's decided to get out of it. So if you take him out of the equation, does that Senate race, again, without any candidate on either side, what's North Carolina like? Is this indeed a toss-up state, a toss-up race, if you don't put any names on the ballot yet?
Yes, it is 100% a toss-up. And I mean, from being from North Carolina, I happen to believe that North Carolina is the most exciting state politically because of how close it is on some of these things. But I will say this, that Republicans do very well in North Carolina when they can gerrymander the districts. So they have a strong hold on the legislature in most part, because of gerrymandering. So statewide elections, Republicans don't do as great, with the very glaring exception of Donald Trump himself, who has won handedly both times in North Carolina. But governor, attorney general, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, just so many statewide elections, Democrats run the gauntlet, high profile. So the Senate race is going to be a really hard election for a Republican to win if they are only catering to the far right elements of the party.
So let's take a look at who some of those candidates might be. And as I'm looking at the ones for the Republicans, you're right. There's a lot of far right that's listed there potentially. But let's start on the Democratic side. Who may be most likely to run? It sounds like somebody with, the total statewide name ID, a former governor.
Yeah, well, Roy Cooper is the big one. Now, he has not said, he's been very cagey about what he is going to do, but people have been debating this for almost 2 years, really, because he was term limited. He couldn't run again, but he was a very popular Democratic governor in a public state. He was even popular among Republicans. So he had a much higher approval rating than any Republican liked to admit ever. So he was the perfect Senate candidate, thinking just on paper. Okay, but he hasn't declared. right now, Wiley Nickel, a former Democratic congressman who was pushed out of his district through gerrymandering. When before gerrymandering, he won in a pretty almost slightly leaning Republican district. So he's got the scope. He doesn't really have the name recognition, but he's got the chomps to do it. But right now, it's just him. He's declared. But if Roy Cooper declares, and if he wins the primary, I would say the Republicans have no hope to get that Senate seat if they run a far-right candidate.
Well, and that's what you might have in terms of, potential Republican candidates. According to Axios, they are listing former Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley, former RNC Vice Chair Laura Trump is listed in there. Let's see, there's also Representatives Pat Harrigan, Tim Moore, and Brad Knott. But that apparently Laura Trump has what's called the right of first refusal. She'd have a hard time saying no if asked by her father-in-law, a Trump advisor said to Axios, although they'd be surprised if she wanted to leave the good gig that she has at Fox. How wonderful that you're caught up in the, your state politics is dependent upon whether somebody's ready to leave Fox News or not, said the guy from Sean Duffy's Wisconsin.
Yeah. None of those, none of those names are going to beat Roy Cooper.
No.
Now the thing is, if Roy Cooper doesn't run, then it becomes super interesting. But I will say Tim Moore is a big deal. He too, like Tillis, he was a Speaker of the House, and he's a big name in North Carolina politics. But he only won his congressional race because he gerrymandered himself a district, and it was a little bit closer than people thought it would be. Same with Brad Knott. Brad Knott is in Washington because of a gerrymandered seat. So none of those folks have any track record that suggests they can win a statewide race, especially against a candidate that does appeal to both sides.
How fascinating that so much of the Republican power or the lack of Democratic power in certain races is a result either of gerrymandering or term limits. And if those things, weren't in play, you'd have a completely different state of North Carolina politics. We're talking to Michael McElroy, political correspondent for the Cardinal and Pine, part of Courier Newsroom. You can check out what Michael's doing over at cardinalpine.com. For North Carolina to be the swing state that it is, I believe, in part because there is such a distinct rural-urban divide in that state as well as in our state, where at its, to put it very in a very shallow way, it's Madison and Milwaukee against the rest of the state. Now, it's clearly it's much more complex than that. But if you also start from that 30,000-foot view of North Carolina, is there a similar dynamic there with cities versus rural areas?
I don't know. I think that the reason that I have a hard time answering that question is because the line between city and rural is a very short drive. And you're still in the same county. Raleigh is in Wake County, and Raleigh is the beating heart of Wake County, but it's just, a stone's throw until you're in a very rural area of Wake County. And the overlap of state and city governments and everything. So I would say that I don't know that divide is as big as we think, and because a lot of the engine of the state government General Assembly, they come from rural areas, and so when they pass a bill that will have a super effect again on rural communities, they hear about it. It doesn't stop them from passing legislation that will hurt rural communities. It hasn't stopped them from standing up to the Medicaid bill, the Medicaid cuts that will have a devastating effects on rural communities. But I'm not sure that divide is as big politically.
So we've got that big story then that came up of your U.S. Senator deciding not to run for re-election after standing up to Trump. Before that came about, what were some of the other stories that you were following there? I would imagine it starts with impact from the Republican tax bill.
Yeah, that's the hugest story, because there is no other political story right now that is going to have as big an impact. Even if the delays that are put into the bill to postpone some of these things ultimately pass. But honestly, until even before Tillis resigned, we were talking about Thom Tillis because I did a video about Thom Tillis privately warning these Republicans. The same thing he said on the floor the other day about why he was voting against it. He was trying to tell folks, passing out handouts with the numbers of North Carolina. He said that this bill would be, quote, devastating to my state, end quote. So Tillis was a big topic of conversation. And I still think it was surprising that he resigned, but he had been, or not resigned, I keep saying that he said he wouldn't run for re-election, but that he still, but the issues that he was trying to highlight quietly, we have to say, not publicly, quietly, were the big story.
Well, I guess theoretically this now gives him, the ability to continue using that megaphone to warn people, but it would have been a little bit more courageous had he done so with his name on the ballot. Michael McElroy, political correspondent for the Courier Newsroom outlet in North Carolina, the Cardinal and Pine. Michael, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Good to talk to you. And when we come back, well, some of you are going to have a local update next, and others will hear from Jimmy Kuska talking about sports over the weekend, where the Brewers dropped one to the Rockies in extra innings yesterday. And in our 8 o'clock hour, when we're all back together, we'll talk to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward. That's all live from Chippewa Falls here on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. And there's Jimmy now. How are you?
What's going on, man?
I'm doing good. How was your weekend?
Warm. A lot of baseball with my kids. So they're both in baseball. Their seasons overlapped. So I have spent a lot of time watching youth t-ball and third grade baseball.
I'll bet you have.
The best kind of baseball.
Oh my goodness. It's definitely where the rules and the points don't matter, for sure.
Parker, were you working on his mic setting there? Was that you I
Yes,
saw?
I was.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you continue to adjust that as need be. Did you send
Is my
him-
mic something wrong with my microphone?
No, you were just a little hot coming in. So just
I've had issues on my driver has been acting up. I can try to back it down a little bit.
Not a worry.
Nice.
Let's see.
We also had you cranked as high as we could last time, apparently. And we do not need that this time. So,
Like I said, I've had some issues. When I talk on a Zoom call or like a Google Meet call, it actually, for whatever reason, mutes all my audio, and then I have to go back and try to find a happy medium. So I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused.
Okay.
I did send a short
Yep,
list of
I
Bucks
got it
top-
here, so-
or sports topics if you need it. So.
Yep. Nope. We are good. Yep. And we'll be back in 2 minutes. So I'll see you in a bit. Here we go. Over on YouTube, let's see, Alicia is guessing that Rebecca Kleefisch will be a candidate for governor. You can certainly cast your own thoughts on who will be the Republican nominee for governor in 2026, whatever Governor Tony Evers decides. It's our question of the week in our Sunday morning newsletter. Sign up for it over at upnorthnewswi.com. Let's bring in Jimmy Kuska now to talk about some of the sports over the weekend and more. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's always great to talk to somebody over there on the shores of Lake Wissota. I love talking back home. So
it was one of the quieter weekends on our part of the lake and the river, where the Chippewa River kind of opens up and becomes Lake Wissota, because the river's so high. Folks couldn't really take their boats out. The water was moving really fast. So I'm hoping it all settles down by this next weekend, 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, he also had hoofbeat going on, which I'm sure drew a certain crowd with it. So
see, now it's funny you say hoofbeat, and old guy that I am, I won't stop saying country fest.
I got to go with the branding in my hometown, so I'll go along with it, I guess.
Oh no, it's fun, and people had a great time. Saw a lot of good social media pics. I have not been out there for a long time. I am definitely due, and unfortunately, some of those people they got just dumped on when those thunderstorm lines came through on Saturday night. But again, people said people were having fun. So you pay that money for tickets, you're going to make the most of it, no matter what.
For sure. It's always a good time in my hometown, no matter what the weather is. So
that's right. So how happy are Bucs fans that Bobby Portis has signed this new 3-year deal?
Of all the moves that the Bucs were going to make this offseason, this is probably the only one that really just checked the obvious box, because there's not a lot they can do. I mean, there's the way that things are for the Bucs right now. They've traded basically all of their future draft picks that they can trade, given the rules. They don't have a whole lot of roster flexibility in terms of contracts. So, free agency is going to be exciting for teams that have the space and the money to make the moves. The Bucs just don't have the assets to do a whole lot. So for the Bucs, this was important because you're getting a contributor, essentially a pretty good deal given his production. So for the Bucs, this is good news. It's not exciting news, but it is good news given that they don't have a whole lot of flexibility to do anything.
It strikes me this way, and I don't follow the team nearly to the degree that others do, but there was all this talk after the Bucs had another first-round elimination from the playoffs that was it. They'd shot their shot, and they did not have the personnel to make a deeper run into the playoffs next year unless they traded Giannis or Bobby or whatever the case may be. But in signing Bobby Portis and in not trading Giannis as part of the NBA draft last week, I feel like it's their way of saying, you know what? No, we think we do have one more year where we can go deep into the playoffs, and lacking any draft picks, this is how they're going to try to make the most of it, I guess.
Hey, in the NBA, if you've got that transcendent superstar, you've got a shot at anything, really. And that's a theory I'm willing to subscribe to, because for as long as the Bucs have Giannis, they'll be relevant and they'll be in some form of contention. Obviously the playoff exits have been disappointing. They've had an amazing stroke of bad luck with injuries, and they'll have that again this year with Damian Lillard out for a long time with the Achilles injury. But as long as you have Giannis, all things are possible, right? So for the Bucs, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to trade him for pennies on the dollar and then just hope that a draft pick pans out. They've already got the main piece in place for contention, and that is a superstar. So
you know what I would liken it to, and it's not quite an apples to apples comparison, but since right now folks on the western side of Wisconsin are hearing us, it's a Minnesota Twins thing where the roster from the 1987 World Series champions and the 1991 World Series champions were different, except that in the middle, in both cases, you had Kirby Puckett and Ken Herbeck. I mean, and in between, the Twins dropped to last place back in 1990 before coming back in 1991. So like you just said, if you've got a solid core, you can build around it.
Yeah, and there's not going to be another big move that's going to excite people. There's not a signing they're going to make. There's probably not a trade that's going to happen. That's going to, it's not going to be on the level of swapping out and getting Damian Lillard, right? There's just not. I mean, not to say never, but it seems extremely unlikely given what they have to offer that's going to happen. So all things considered, this was the best thing that could really happen this offseason, that they get some of a deal on Bobby Portis to come back. And now they have to decide on Gary Trent, and then the other relatively smaller moves will follow.
Brewers are off today. They're heading to New York. They play the Mets. You can hear the games Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday all starting at 5:35 with pregame coverage across the Civic Media Radio Network. We are now actually past the halfway point of the season for the Brewers, and 10 games over 500 is, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, and this is a huge series because the Mets and the Brewers are only separated by a game in the wild card standings. So this is a massively important series for Milwaukee, which currently has the seventh best run differential in all of baseball. They've scored the seventh most runs. They've got a budding young star in the Miz, which that game Wednesday, by the way, the hype was off the charts for it. And I felt like personally it lived up to it.
It did.
Because it was so fun to see kind of a superstar in the making. The place was sold out. AmFam was sold out, packed to the gills. When they sell it at preferred parking, it's a big game. It's exciting right now for the Brewers. They're right in the thick of contention. There's no question that they've gone from maybe a month ago when we were talking, maybe we were thinking, well, maybe they sell some pitching and they bring in some prospects. Now you're thinking, okay, now they're firmly in contention because if the season ended today, they're in the playoffs as a wild card team. But you look at the NL and there are like 10 teams all just kind of packed in there in contention right now. It's going to be an exciting finish to the year for sure.
No doubt. Okay, and then finally, in high school, no shot clock in high school basketball for at least another year. I didn't know there wasn't one.
Yeah, so high school basketball won't have a shot clock. The advisory council didn't even advance it to the Board of Control. Last year, the Board of Control voted it down right away, after it passed the various committees and councils. This year, it didn't even make it to that stage. So I know there are some frustrated coaches out there. Wisconsin, once again, in high school sports, will be one of the last few to adopt the major rule change. And in this case, it happens to be shot clocks in basketball. Right now, 31 states in D.C. have a shot clock. Wisconsin does not.
Jimmy Koska, thank you so much. As always, have a great start to the week. We'll talk to you Wednesday.
Talk to you later.
All right. Coming up in our 8 o'clock hour, Jeff Mandell from Law Forward will be here to talk about suing Elon Musk. Hey, remember, you can follow my team at Up North News all day long through our newsletters, social media, and our website, upnorthnewswi.com. And, of course, right here, mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be joined by John and Gordy right after the 8 o'clock news, and Jane Matnair is 1 hour away. And I forgot that we were 10 seconds back. So
Yep. You're good.
Luke's on vacation. It's okay.
Jimmy, out of curiosity, is there any good reason that they're saying no to the shot clock?
Cost.
Okay.
Seriously? The cost of a shot clock?
Yeah, it's a few $1,000s, but when they put this in 6 years ago, they mandated it. All the smaller schools basically revolted and they immediately pulled back on it. And now it's just been hard to get it back on an agenda to get it passed again. I will say this, though. Many schools, including here in basketball, when they've been building new gyms or renovating old gyms, they've been adding the shot clock, just expecting that if Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota all have it, the Dakotas have it, Wisconsin's going to get it eventually. That hasn't quite happened yet, but the two proposals this year, one would have started it on a volunteer basis for non-conference games next year. The other one was going to mandate it in 3 years, and both never advanced. So it's going to come back up again this time next year. Eventually it'll happen. It's inevitable. It's in the NFHS handbook. It's coming. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought the answer was, but I was kind of hoping that there was some other weird reason.
No, it's cost and having someone run it are the two big factors, I guess. So, also, Pat, just real quick, I sent an email about a potential sports fill-in subject for next Monday when I can't be here.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yep, just something for you to look at. So,
okay, sounds good. I see it there. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care, guys.
All right, see ya.
Good one, Jimmy.
Yep.
Good morning, Dom. And there are the guys. think I hear them. I don't know if they hear me yet.
We hear you.
Shut the door.
Okay.
When you get a
We
chance.
hear you.
All right.
Oh, hey, good morning.
Hey, yeah. It's, yeah.
Hey, ho, what are we doing?
Live radio, eventually.
Live.
Ain't nothing like it.
Okay.
How are you guys?
Oh, good.
All right.
How about you?
Good. I have nothing productive to talk about from the weekend. I spent a lot of time in the hammock, and I have no regrets.
Yeah.
So, what about you guys?
I was cleaning up the basement, and everybody acts like that's not a big deal or anything, or it's not, something important. It is.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, especially if you've been there a while.
Yeah.
I went to a little winery in Jefferson, Wisconsin, which is east of Madison, about a half hour. And
he's turned into a sissy man.
And when I go to wineries, I always order beer. I'll have the spotted cow, please.
That's right. Yeah.
But I put it in a wine glass. And
you're classy, like that champagne of beers.
Right. But I had the best potato salad there I've ever had in my life. It was like, I don't normally order potato salad. It was that or chips to go with my turkey wrap bacon thing. And it was unbelievably great.
Wow.
Like, oh my God, I'm going to go back just for the potato salad.
Wisconsin is starting to get to you. You've been in Wisconsin now
20, 30,
just enough
25,
just
30
enough
years.
time to get a good potato salad.
Starting to build your palate up. Huh?
Yeah.
Palate trained.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Cool. Anything else fun from today's show that you'd like to revisit?
Let's see, what did we do?
Well, we talked a little bit about birthright citizenship, maintaining it in Wisconsin, because we're one of the states suing
Okay.
to keep birthright citizenship alive and well. And by the way, there's an interesting story. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but it's going on in Minnesota. They have deployed a mobile solar panel trailer.
This is great.
That moves across the fields while the cows graze underneath the wings of the solar
and
panels.
they stay in the in the shade.
This is to
with
give
the
them
feed.
shade.
So this thing travels around the.
Yeah, they produce more milk because they're not as hot. So
that might be the best story I've ever heard.
That is
it's bizarre.
Amazing.
I know. By the way, I have a
that?
clip. I have a clip of that. It's a 56-second clip. Unless if you're not interested, that's okay. We could just talk about the story. But
did Pam Yankee give us this story, or
no? I found it.
You found it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get an email for energy. Tells me about energy use, and farms are using a lot of solar at this point.
Oh God, I'm totally stealing this for our climate segment on
Please
Wednesdays.
do.
So
Yeah,
love it.
do it.
All right, 30 seconds, then we'll get this show on the road.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
With a coffee mug that says, "I am silently correcting your grammar," although oftentimes not so silently. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Welcome back. It's 8:06. Hope you had a nice weekend. Parker Olson is in Madison Studio A2. John and Gordy are going to join us from A1 in just a moment. First, a reminder that coming up at the bottom of this hour, we'll talk to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward about the legal group's lawsuit against Elon Musk, hoping to prevent future episodes of billionaire bribery in connection with Wisconsin elections. And tomorrow on the program, we'll talk to Hans Breitenmoser, Dan Schaefer, and more. Then on Wednesday, State Representative Angela Stroud from up north talking about removing lead water lines. It's not just a Milwaukee thing. In her district, Superior has a real problem with that. And the legislature was not really that helpful last week on the topic. So I've got all that and more coming up. But first at 8:07 now, time to bring in our friends John and Gordy from our Civic Media station in Madison. Guys, how are you?
Morning, Pat.
Real good, Pat.
Doing well. How are you?
Remember those mugs, Pat, where you pour the hot liquid into the mug and the either the writing on the outside of the mug would disappear,
Yep.
or appear. Things would appear on it.
Things would appear. He said. Keeping
that
that almost
happened,
family friendly for radio, but the 1970s were so fun.
But that happened in the Bush administration.
Really?
They had all these different mugs. Yeah, the progressives came out with mugs that had disappearing writing and maps on it.
Oh, see, I was thinking about something differently, but I'm
Oh.
also
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those kind of.
And they're done that, Pat. Thank you.
I'm of an era where when you discover your dad's secret stash of Playboys, I mean,
Exactly.
that is finding gold in them dar hills, you know.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes, those were the days.
Yes. I was just before I came to you, I've got a hayfield right across the street, and the tractor came by to do first cutting. It's so different now as the farms get bigger, you know. It used to be you needed 6 kids on the back of a flatbed, you know, and the little square bales would come up, and everything had to be dry because otherwise, you know, you were going to get into problems. Nowadays, I mean, this thing comes by, it's a huge machine now. I mean, it cuts it faster than you can cut your lawn is the way it gets done with this whole field here. And then a blower truck is going to come by and get it all done. We'll talk to Hans Breitenmoser about this tomorrow, but the changes in farming are just crazy to see when you get to see them. I saw something last week that I haven't seen in farming for a while. I saw cows outside. That's like a rare thing now. You used to see a lot of cows out in the fields when you drive around, and you hardly see it anymore because they're all in the barns 24/7, you know. And I think some of them have finally figured out, hey, he said, no pun intended, if you let them out in the field, you might get some better milk that way. You know?
They can graze that way. Yeah,
we got a story about
we got a story about grazing out there in the fields. Minnesota is experimenting with a mobile solar panel, and these are 2 wings, giant wings, solar panels, and they're attached to a battery-operated tractor that moves across the fields very slowly, providing shade for the cows out in the pasture.
This is epic. Because we keep hearing, and you know, they're not totally incorrect, but saying, oh, these solar farms, they're taking up all this farmland. Well, no, I mean, one thing that I've known is that they have been looking at ways to have your cake and eat it too. Have the solar panels, but either raise them up or have them, you know, rotate during the day so that the crops below can still grow. Or in this case, continue to provide shade for the cows as it's kind of mobile that way. That is amazing.
I know it. It's a really great idea, but it could be frustrating for the cows, you know, when they find a really good spot to graze. But the tractor keeps moving, so they have to just kind of moving along.
But it actually increases their milk production.
It does,
right?
Yeah, that's the whole point of keeping them cooler. It's been so hot lately. It's crazy, right?
Yes.
Except where you are, I guess you had cold temperatures up there, haven't you?
A little further north, closer to Lake Superior.
Oh, further north.
No, we've had our warm spells here. But I think that would just be amazing. You know, you just have to start a new saying, you know, the grass is greener under the robotic tractor. Something like that.
Solar powered tractors.
Yeah. We had a very low key weekend here at the house. We didn't set up the list of, 20 things to do. We just kind of did things as they came up. I spent ample time in the hammock, I'm happy to say. But one of you were busy doing the basement, which is one of those things I always say I'm going to do on a really cold winter day or something, and then it just never gets done. But you did it.
I have 2 Gen Zers at home, and we have apartments in our home, and they just moved into these apartments by themselves now, separately, and they left all the junk in the basement in the middle of a walking area. I mean, it's hard to walk down there now and do the laundry. So I had to kind of clean that up and take care of some of the mess down there. So
how much did you put at the end of the driveway with a free sign before they got the idea that maybe they should do something with this?
Well, I should have put it up in their apartments. That's what I should have done.
Yes. But that is there's this rite of passage that I didn't appreciate right away as a young man, but I've come since to appreciate now, not just for my wife, but for my daughters. The rite of passage when you're of an age where your parents, usually your mom, will say to the daughter, okay, I've been holding on to this big old box with your wedding dress long enough.
Yeah.
It's time for you to store it away because you finally bought your first home or whatever the case may be. And it's not just the wedding dress. That's just one example. But there is something about when one of my daughters finally got a place of her own, is we loaded up the vehicle. And I mean, they got a small place, but it's still their place. So here's your stuff to go in your place.
Yeah.
We don't have to babysit it anymore. That's kind of nice.
That's true. Yeah, I wish my parents had done the same thing and let me know. They got rid of all my stuff.
Oh my gosh.
That I left there. But oh no, you didn't. Yes, they got rid of a lot of the stuff. So thank goodness I took my 60s comic books with me, though, Marvel comics.
Yes.
I do know though.
I sold those. Yeah.
You just cashed those in, right?
I just cashed them in.
Some big bucks.
Did you?
You know what you do? You take the old comics and you put them in auctions. There are auctions that sell comic books exclusively, and you get some really good money there. And boy, I made out like a bandit, but it's sad to see them go. I didn't buy them to collect them. I loved reading and looking at the pictures in the comic books. I was a big comic book fan. So getting rid of them, and I used to draw comics too at one point. So yeah, it was my inspiration when I was a kid, and then I'm selling them, and it's just it was heartbreaking, but yeah, I made some money.
I suppose. Yeah. I'd like to think that when my mom got really frustrated with me not cleaning my room, and one day threw away all of my baseball cards. And I was probably like 11 years old or something at the time, and I totally deserved it. I would like to think that somewhere in there, I can hold this over my mom's head, that you threw away $1 million card.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that, you couldn't get, $5 for the whole lot based on what I had, but we'll never know now.
You'll never know. You'll never know. My neighbor had like a gigantic cardboard box filled with cards, and when I think about that, there might have been some real classics in there.
Yeah,
very valuable cards. So who knows?
You don't get to keep those, and yet every so often, I know there was a story a week or two ago, somebody finding like a Rembrandt or something that somebody else had painted over, and somehow they figured out to look underneath it and find. It's like that always happens to somebody else,
Yeah, it does. It does.
But you saved yours, and I thought that was pretty. Did you have a favorite genre of comics? I mean,
well, I like the superhero comics a lot. Spider-Man was one of the best ones. I could identify with him as a loner. No one liked you.
It's still the case today. I know. Yeah.
Up in my lonely room drawing comic books, imagining myself as a superhero. That's the way it is.
See that I was more not so much the superheroes. I was more Archies. Archie, Veronica, Betty, Reggie, which is why I guess we're going back maybe 10 years now when that TV series Riverdale came out. And it said it was going to be a young adult series based on the comic books, and sure enough, the characters were there: Archie, Betty, Veronica. But as they're all like taking each other's clothes off and having these sexy scenes in the shower, I'm like, this is not the comic book I read.
This is the comic book I wish I read.
Right. Yes.
And you can always show off your age by asking people, when you're comparing two women, it's like, is it Betty or Veronica? And for others, it would now be Rachel or Monica. And of course, the quintessential one was Ginger versus Marianne.
Exactly.
You guys,
Gilligan's Island. Yeah.
Yes.
We were heavily into all of that. Yes.
Yeah. You ever notice women never do that? They never take any two guys and go, you want this one or that one? It's like, well,
no.
You'd have to find two quality candidates to put up, in order to do that. We're talking to John Gordy. Yes, sir.
But now it's different. A lot of women really do like to see the backside of a guy now in the movies and on TV.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I always wonder if is that real, or is that just wishful thinking on the guy's part when they write these things? But
well, I don't know.
Question.
But I know my wife enjoys it.
Oh, well, there you go. All
so
right.
I'm thinking, she's not alone in all of this. But yeah.
Okay. 4th of July plans for you guys?
I don't really have any big
actually,
plans, and it's
no,
a 3-day
plans.
weekend too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we got. How about you, Pat? Are you going anywhere? Doing anything?
Last night we said, you know, if we do something on Friday the 4th, we'd still have the 5th and the 6th,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday to hang out here on the lake. So we just made, we looked at the Summerfest lineup, and I don't have it in front of me, but the lineup on the 4th of July looked pretty good. So I think we may wander down to Milwaukee. We haven't been to the big gig there in quite a few years.
Yeah,
And
it's
it would be
fun
nice to
going
see.
down there. It really is, just to walk around and see the different stages. Yeah.
Well, and half the fun too is at that Walker's Point neighborhood. There's a couple of nice like boutique hotels there now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You're going to stay over.
You can stay over, and you don't have as much of, you know, the parking hassle or taking the shuttles. You know, the shuttle ride is a lot shorter from Walker's Point than it would be, you know, from other parts of the city.
True.
So I'm looking forward to it. But you know, when we're comparing notes next week, I'll be curious to see if it was as good as I remember, or if I'm going to give you the old man thing of, there were too many people. The crowds, I'm never going again. And the music was so loud. And no, I'm thinking I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. Well, the last time I went was to see Imagine Dragons, and wow, what a show that was.
Yeah.
Gee, that was a fantastic concert.
I'm not familiar with them. I don't know.
Oh.
Imagine Dragons.
Yep.
Yeah. Big with the kids.
Here's some of the stages on the 4th of July. Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Boy,
really?
Am I showing my age? John Waite, John Oates of Hall & Oates.
No kidding.
Richard Marx, and Chicago. A little band called Chicago will be there as well. Fountains of Wayne and more. So right up my demographic alley. So, you know.
Well, you know, long time ago, they had a stage for Milwaukee bands. The old 60s, 70s Milwaukee bands played at one of the stages. I wish they'd do that again, like Milwaukee Skunks or the Ricochets or the Legends.
Yes.
Sammy
Love
McHugh.
a good local band. We've got one up here, Uncommon Denominator. They're just so good. You love having a good local band like that. We're talking with John and Gordy. A local update is next for some of you. Others will be back here for more with John and Gordy. And when we are all back together in the 8:30 half hour, we will be talking to Jeff Mandell of Law Forward about their lawsuit against Elon Musk. This is all followed at 9 a.m. by Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair will be along before too much longer to tell us what's coming up on her show as well. From the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. See, Tony pops up here. That's an old man thing. Am I old now? I think he must be talking about Summerfest. Bring back Paul Whiteman and his orchestra. That was real music.
Oh, Whiteman.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Who's the polka guy that we discovered?
On
the network.
Tuba Sam or something. Tuba. He's out of Ripon. What's WHMS or HME? Is that one of the news stations?
It might be
on the Civic Media.
It might be, because I never saw that before.
He's on every Saturday and Sunday morning. Tuba. I think it's Tuba Sam.
It might be.
Sam.
I'm not kidding you. Pat, you got to check this out. Saturday mornings, I think it's 6:30 to 8:30 or something.
The cool thing about it, Pat, is that, you know, being a Tuba Sam guy, he's going to play all the polka songs with tubas in it.
With tubas.
You know?
Well, sure.
It's a
As
small
one
niche,
does.
but
You know,
it's a good niche.
When all you got is a hammer, you know, every song is a nail. So absolutely. No, my in-laws have been listening to the same polka show on Saturdays and Sundays out of a station in, I don't know if it was
Tuba Dan.
Tuba Dan. Okay.
93.1.
What were the call letters?
On the wave. I don't know what that is. Let me hit it here. Radio Road for Polka Party. Doesn't exactly say what station.
Tuba Dan. Tuba Dan and his sidekick Corky.
Oh,
You got to tune this in,
Corky.
man. This will bend your mind.
Tuba Dan. All right.
The thing is, my
WRPN.
WRPN. Okay.
Oh, Ripon.
That's Ripon. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Love their cookies. Good. All right. See, we also got Miller Lite turning 50 years old. We got birthright citizenship. We got potato salad to do yet.
I'll do potato salad.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great. All right. Here we go in 20 seconds or so. Back now with John and Gordy from our civic media station in Madison, where Parker, keep this music up, because I swear he says he got it from our generic production library. I swear that's like an actual song by like Dick Dale or one of those other surfer music guys.
Ventures, it sounds like to me.
Ventures.
Yeah,
The Ventures.
Yeah, Walk Don't Run, maybe.
Yeah, Walk Don't Run.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
All right.
Wait, it is called Walk Don't Run.
Yes,
that's not a production library song.
Well, it might be.
It was in there,
but it might be
oh my
part
God,
of that.
We are in such legal hot water right now.
Oh no!
Oh, have you watched Not All the Show?
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's part of our the music company that we subscribe to.
I think so.
It
Yeah.
might be part of
I
their
think
library.
I think it
might
might
be legal at this
I
point.
just think it's hilarious that it took three of us older guys to figure it out to let Parker know that, yes, the one thing he said, hey, this sounds really good. Well, it's because it was an actual hit on the radio.
Turns out when you find actual music, it's good.
It is.
Yeah, I think these guys got real potential here.
There you go.
Yes, they did 60 years ago. To Tom in Hartford on the text line asking about Brittany. Brittany's off today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to her here before the summer July 4th weekend gets going. Tammy in Eau Claire writes, we went to Summerfest this past weekend to hear Cake. Awesome show, and the food was fantastic. So I'm sure they sang along to Short Skirt, Long Jacket, and all the other hits that they've got there as well. And you were telling me in the break about if there's one other act I have to go find someplace, it's somebody named Tuba Dan.
Tuba Dan.
This is a radio show.
Oh, okay.
On the Civic Media Radio Network. On what's the station, John? This is
On
the Ripon station.
RPN. Okay.
Yes.
RPN. Yeah, and he's on the weekend, I believe.
Yeah,
it's
every
7 to 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Yes.
And he plays, obviously he loves tuba, so every polka song has a tuba in it. Not all of them do, but on his show, he's found them all.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of polkas, but the show is really wonderful.
Yeah.
And he's got a sidekick, Corky, and Tuba Dan. It's Tuba Dan
Yep.
and Corky. They explore the world of polka music in Wisconsin, and it's just excellent. It really is.
Of all the things that show off my age, is that now Sherry and I were about to this week have our 39th anniversary. So when we got married in 1986, that is still our reception is still the last reception that we went to with a polka band, not a band that played polka music. It was all polkas.
Oh, that's nice.
All night,
all the time.
When we grew up, that was not out of the ordinary. Is that a wedding reception, especially in the Manitowoc area or, out in Minnesota where I'm from. But since that time, polka bands at a wedding reception, I've never been to one after ours.
Well, they had a polka show on in Milwaukee when I was a kid. I watched it all the time, all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned over the weekend, you cleaned your basement. John,
I cleaned my basement, and Gordy went to a wine bar.
Gordy went to a wine bar or a winery?
Winery.
A winery.
Distillery. It's Stable Rock Winery and Distillery in Jefferson, a little town east of Madison, about half an hour. Beautiful place, beautiful setting. And I normally don't go to wineries, and when I do, I order, and it just always makes them mad. I'll have a beer, please. What do you have? And then I order. I'll have a spotted cow, and then I pour it into a wine glass.
Because you're classy that way.
It just steams. They get very angry about that. But the thing was, I had lunch there, and they had a turkey wrap bacon thing. But the side, and they asked on the side, what do you want, chips or potato salad? I'm not really a fan of, just chips, so I'll try the potato salad. Not a big fan of potato salad. This was the best potato salad I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
It was just delicious. It was flavorful. It wasn't all gummy and sticky and everything. It was just freshly made, and it was wonderful. And of course, I was flying solo because neither of my two ex-wives wanted to go with me. So, but it was wonderful, beautiful setting. I had my beer, I had my potato salad and turkey wrap. It was just a wonderful time.
You're trolling for wife number 3, no doubt.
Well,
with a setup like that,
yeah, exactly.
Yes, for the potato salad. You'll love this. Now that's more normally a German salad. Is a drier salad.
This was not. It had just the right taste. It was a little bit sweet, a little bit sour. I don't know what they put in it.
Yeah.
But it was not overbearing. It was just perfect.
They put a little sugar in it. There's vinegar in it, and they have mustard powder they use in it.
I
highly recommend it.
Until I met Sherry, I had never had hot potato salad. She makes a German potato salad that is just killer. It's everything that you just described, but in you've got it in a crock pot instead.
Oh yeah.
And the neighborhood gathering that we have every year, they always ask her to make it. They always eat it all up. So there is no one size fits all on potato salad. So when you find a good one,
I highly recommend it. Stable Rock Winery in Jefferson.
Okay.
Check out their potato salad.
Okay.
And also their wines. I'm sure the wines are great.
And then finally, and we won't have enough time to talk at length about it, but I wanted to let people know that on your show, and you can go back and listen to past episodes at civicmedia.us, you guys had a good little discussion on birthright citizenship in light of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on Friday.
That's right. Yes. And it's nice to know at least it's still legal. It's still something here in Wisconsin because we are one of 21 other states plaintiffs in a suit against the government saying that we should keep birthright citizenship. It's part of the Constitution. And because of that challenge, the recent Supreme Court challenge, or at least decision, said that we are protected. So they have blocked any citizenship.
While we deal with the Trump administration asking if a constitutional amendment is constitutional. I'm going to go bang my head against this wall over here during the next break.
I know exactly. My head hits too on this
everybody in Madison, tune in to John and Gordy. Catch them on the app and on the website as well. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Always fun.
Appreciate it. Coming up next, we'll talk to Jeff Mandell. First, a reminder, sign up for our newsletters, plural. We got 3 of them now. Head to upnorthnewswi.com. Live from Lake Wissota. What a great place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. It's a real song. Oh my God, Parker. Oh my God. It's just, I can't get over that.
What happened?
It's not a generic song. It's a real top 40 hit.
I wonder if I found it in our files on the computer and not in the Universal. Maybe that's what happened.
Here's a little thing from a group called the Beatles. Can we use that for a bumper music? Yeah, Parker's never heard of them. It's okay.
I think if you only play 6 or 8 or 10 seconds, you're good.
But is that part of Universal's library? I think it is, isn't it?
I thought it was. Maybe I found it in the files on this computer. I don't remember.
Oh.
Well, look, if we can start using anything out of Universal, that opens a whole new world. And I mean, honestly, that's hilarious. Thank you guys for solving that mystery for me.
Sure.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a great day. Yeah, bye.
You.
on. And Pat's not at his chair right now. Pat is probably getting more coffee. Never mind.
I don't blame him.
No, I am one of the few people who tries to do no coffee. I do just water.
I'm also not a coffee drinker, but I don't start every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. Or
yeah, fair.
I aspire to get all my caffeine from chocolate.
From chocolate, I like it. There we go. All right, Pat, we've got Jeff Mandell is here for you.
There he is now. Yep. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you, Pat?
Hey, I'm good, Jeff. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Thanks for making the second attempt here and making this work for us. I appreciate it.
No problem. I apologize for the miscommunication last time.
No, we hadn't had a setup like that before, and so now we've got the routine in place. I'm happy to say. Parker, are you hearing me too?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. I see N2 is signed on. That's the board and Racine, right?
Yes, it is. I don't know.
I don't need to pop it up yet. I think
no, you don't. No.
He was just prepping for the next segment. So, okay. Yep. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So let's see, Jeff, we come back in a minute 15. And so obviously a lot on the Elon Musk suit. Any other particular cases where there's some activity or things that you want to promote that the group is doing?
Not really. I think that's the big one right now. The Supreme Court just said it didn't want to deal with the congressional redistricting, but that's just sad. And
yeah, it is.
We'll try to skin that cat in a different way, and we'll come back and talk about it then.
Okay.
But I think for today, let's just talk about Musk.
Sure. And just one other thing. Is there anything that you want to say about the birthright citizenship decision?
No.
That too is just sad. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it just makes it all the more important that we have the best state courts we can. It really emphasizes how important each of our state Supreme Court elections is.
There you go. That's it.
Courts are really not a place for justice right now.
All right. We'll get going in 20 seconds. Did you know that Civic Media app has a brand new feature on it? You can use it to text us, of course. We've talked about that at length. But you can send us a voice note as well. You just use that voice note feature, and you can record a little audio message. It might be a comment on something you're hearing. It might be a question for one of us. So just all the more reason to download that Civic Media app and use the voice note feature to stay in touch. Tomorrow on the program, Hans Breitenmoser will be here, dairy farmer from up in the Merrill area, Chad Holmes from Wausau, Dan Hagan from Newswatch 12 in Rhinelander, and Dan Schaefer from the Recombobulation area. And then on Wednesday, State Representative Angela Stroud from up north. But right now, we're going to have a little conversation with Jeff Mandell from Law Forward and talk about what I don't know, you can either call it billionaire bribery or you can call it bribery-adjacent campaigning or whatever it is. Jeff Mandell and Law Forward want to make sure that these kinds of practices stay on the up and up or don't happen at all. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
No, it's nice to have you here. Thank you so much. Let's put it in your words instead of mine. Tell us about the lawsuit and the genesis of it and the outcome you hope to get.
Thanks, Pat. The lawsuit is about making sure we continue to have free and fair elections here in Wisconsin and about perpetuating a series of actions that Law Forward has taken to hold accountable those bad actors who try to undermine free and fair elections in Wisconsin. So let's step back to March. to the home stretch of the Supreme Court election that we had here in Wisconsin this past spring to remind your listeners what happened. In the last 12 days of that election, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, showed up in Wisconsin and started to offer cash incentives for people to vote here in Wisconsin. And first, it was a petition that offered $100 to any registered voter who would sign the petition that very, very closely echoed the campaign themes and messaging of one of the candidates. And then all of a sudden, it was the chance of $1 million checks to people who had signed the petition and said they'd already voted in the election. And then there was a series of payouts as well in the weekend before the election for people who were knocking on doors and getting photos of voters with the holding campaign material for Musk's preferred candidate and giving a thumbs up or a smile. All of these are efforts to induce people to vote. And in Wisconsin, you cannot give anything that is valued more than $1 to try to induce people to vote. It's against the law.
It sure seemed pretty clear that way. I mean, you can't induce anyone to go to the polls, to vote for, or to vote at all, or to vote for a particular person. You refer to it as a brazen scheme to induce Wisconsinites to vote. And I think that's a generous way to put it. I mean, brazen truly fits what he was trying to get away with.
It's really outrageous. And it's even more outrageous when you put it in the context of some of the things we've seen in Wisconsin over the last few years, including complaints filed by individual candidates or political parties when, say, on campus, there was a get out the vote activity that offered ice cream for people who came out to early vote. And they said, well, ice cream is worth more than $1. Maybe it is. I mean, I don't know exactly what the details of that program were, but $1 million check is certainly worth more than $1. And even the chance to get $1 million check, right? We don't sell lottery tickets in this country for less than $1 usually. So it really is a brazen scheme. It's brazen in how open and outrageous it is, how contemptuous of the law it is, and we can't let this continue. The day after the election, there was a really distressing article to me in the Washington Post because U.S. Senator from North Carolina, Thom Tillis, who I guess made his own news this past weekend.
Yep.
But Senator Tillis was asked about this. And his reaction was really just astonishing to me. But what he said in essence was that Elon Musk is a disruptor. And he comes in with new ideas and thinks about things differently than we have before. And we all have to adapt. And so what he said is for the 2026 midterm elections, we should expect to see millionaires of all different political stripes standing up on stages and giving away huge checks. And that's just a horrifying dystopian vision to me. That's not the way we understand or want elections to work in this country. And that was really one of the moments when we decided we had to, even after the election, come in and try to make sure this can't happen again.
Right. I mean, because you either have that outlook or hear me out here, you don't allow voters to be bribed in one form or another. But now we have to ask the legal thicket question that there was an effort just prior to the election to try to get this practice smacked down, and courts did not go along with it. What is different this time now that the election's in the past? What is different about the lawsuit, the arguments that you're making that you hope make it more likely a court will formally and finally end practices like these?
It's a great question. I think really the biggest difference is the context and the timing. You know, courts have a tremendous amount of power, but they also, as institutions, are not really built to work quickly. Excuse me. The goal of courts is to arrive at the truth and then to enforce the law based on what it finds about those facts. What you were referencing, Pat, was that in the run-up to the election, there was an effort by Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul to put a stop to an event the Sunday evening before the election where Musk handed out 2 $1 million checks. We had been pushing Attorney General Kaul to take action and to try to stop this. And we're grateful that he made the effort. But he filed his papers on a Friday afternoon, asking the court to stop something that was happening 48 hours later. And that's really just not in sort of the DNA of our court system to do things quickly over the weekend in exceptional circumstances. The wheels of justice generally grind slowly, and the courts, no court that weekend. Within those 48 hours, Attorney General Kaul was in the trial court in Wisconsin, in the Wisconsin Court of Appeals, and in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But none of those courts said that he was wrong. None of those courts said that what Musk was doing was okay. What each of those courts said is, we're not willing or able to do this on the schedule you're asking us for. And so what our lawsuit is doing is saying, okay, we'll take you at your word, courts, but now the election is over. Things are calm and settled. We're not in an urgent situation, but we do need to know what the law is and get this clear before the next Wisconsin Supreme Court election, because we can't allow this to happen again. And if you remember at the beginning when I recapped what happened, I said that Musk didn't start these efforts until 12 days before the election. I don't think that's accidental. I think part of what they're trying to do is jam the courts. They're trying to show up and do things right on the edge and do them at such a time that nobody can really stop it. And so we're coming in at this moment and saying, let's put a stop to this.
It's downright diabolical. We're talking to Jeff Mandell from Law Forward. It's a legal group that already has a pretty good history of holding some bad actors to account. There was the exposing of the fraudulent electors scheme that was cooked up here in the state. And then there was the complaint against the Office of Lawyer Regulation that held that former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman had made some ethical abuses during his sham investigation into the 2020 election. So, this is a group that does not take things lightly when you're doing these things. So you have filed the lawsuit here against Elon Musk. What's next? How should we expect to see things play out?
Well, as I said, courts move slowly. And so there's going to be a period of time where the defendants here, which is Elon Musk, a political action committee that he founded and runs called America PAC, and then another organization that he created with the unbelievable name of the United States of America, Inc. They're the ones who sent people these actual checks. So you would sign the petition from America PAC, and it said that America PAC would send you a check, but the check actually came from the United States of America, Inc. People got emails that said the United States of America has money for you. So those are the defendants here, those three entities. They're going to have an opportunity to answer this complaint, and then the lawsuit will get rolling. So I would expect around Labor Day, we'll have a schedule from the court and we'll be able to move forward.
Can somebody also then do the lawsuit that says what state allowed you to incorporate the name United States of America Incorporated? I mean, I don't know who runs these anymore. I always thought it was every Secretary of State's office in the state, but somebody dropped the ball on that one.
Indeed, Pat, you are correct. I mean, I think we all share an intuition that it just doesn't seem like it can possibly be acceptable to incorporate and claim that you're doing business in the name of the United States of America. You'll be unsurprised to know that the answer to your question of where was that ball dropped is in the Texas Secretary of State's office. No. And, we could either go to court in Texas and try to deal with it there, or what we didn't want to do was make an issue of that and allow the whole case to get sucked into the federal courts. This is really an issue of Wisconsin law, and we want this resolved here in our Wisconsin courts.
Okay. There's just so many issues. I mean, I could even go off on a different tangent. I remember when Ron Johnson first ran for office, and this was 2010, and instead of paid for by Ron Johnson for Senate, it was paid for by Johnson for Senate LLC. And I'm like, what kind of path are we wandering down here that corporations are literally running for office now? But that's a side issue. And then one other side issue, forgive me for going off on a tangent here, but when we talk about signing these quote unquote petitions, and I want to put finger quotes around petition, because I remember when I was running for Congress in 2012 and they said, oh, we got to do these petition things. And I still have a very old school definition of what a petition is. It's to list your grievances against the government, for example. But that's not what these are. These are campaign things. They just collect your name and say, hey, we collected 110,000 signatures on this petition. It's not an actual petition, but it shows the slippery slope of first a petition's not a petition, and now a petition is something that maybe we could send you $1 or $1 million if you sign. And it is so hard as a voter to know what's a gimmick and what's not a gimmick, that the worst thing that could happen, Jeff, is that you and Law Forward aren't there to at least try to get a court to provide a little bit of clarity of what some bad actors can't do.
Well, it is very frustrating because, as you say, we think of petitions as a means of aggregating public opinion and giving it to decision makers to help guide them and help them understand what their constituents want. But these days, so often, especially online, petitions are not that. They are simply means to collect people's email addresses and text numbers. And it's just a whole shift in campaigning, as you mentioned. And some of it is constitutionally protected, but actually paying people in an effort to induce them to vote or to induce them to vote for a specific candidate, that is illegal. And we cannot allow ourselves to go down that road here in Wisconsin.
Cannot. Jeff Mandell from Law Forward, thank you so much. I really appreciate the information and wish you all the best in the suit.
Thank you so much.
All right. Local update is next for some of you. For others, you'll come back here for some final news and notes from Lake Wissota. I'm Pat Kreitlow on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, there we go to break. Jeff, thank you you probably can't hear me, don't have your headphones on, but thank you, Jeff, so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Pat. That was great. And it's always good to do this.
Yeah, great. Yeah, keep us in the loop. We'd love to have you on whenever there's a development you guys want to talk about.
Will do. Happy 4th.
All right, you as well. Take care. Let's head over to Studio N2 now, where Jane Matnair is standing by.
Good morning.
Tell us. How's your weekend?
It was good.
Yeah. Good.
I'll share some things with you when we get on the air.
All right.
By the way, I want to tell you guys, I love Pigeon Quest so much. It makes me so happy. It does.
Melissa. I tell you, she is.
Pigeon Quest is just fabulous.
You don't
brings joy to my life.
You don't, when you meet people that innocent. I know, right? Who want to adopt a rescue pigeon.
Who even knew there were rescue pigeons? Oh my God.
And it's the tightrope that I enjoy is having fun with her at this without offending her on this, you know? And so I could only make so many KFC jokes before I had to kind of back away for a little bit. But oh my goodness.
No, she's so sincere and so genuine. It's just lovely. I look forward to it every Wednesday.
Yeah, I
do.
We do too.
Yeah. We don't know when, because we never talked to her but one of these times we're going to pull up the camera and there's going to be paint bucket on her shoulder.
She's got to rename that thing. A paint bucket, it just does not fly. Why not Fran? I mean, just pick something random.
Yes.
Paint bucket is a dumb name for anything.
Yep.
I think my dog's name was Raindrop when we got him.
No, that's not going to.
Yeah,
no.
What'd you change it to?
Wilson.
Wilson the dog.
I like Wilson.
All right. I like it. Oh, too fun. Let's see. We got just over a minute.
Greg is lurking.
Here. Greg is lurking, as
Whoa.
Greg does.
Whoa.
Nice sideways lurk there. Excuse me.
Greg will be happy at the progress I'm making toward getting the CPAP machine and being accepting of
It's
this.
it's changed his life, Pat. It really has.
I keep hearing that from people. So, and the thing is now that I've kind of accepted that this is what it is, it's now an annoyance in that I keep thinking, oh, I just keep waking up all the time because I'm an old man and you have to go to the bathroom. And it's like, no, that's not what was waking you up. It wasn't that,
It's that whole breathing.
It's that whole thing of needing oxygen, apparently.
I need, breathing to live.
Yeah, who'd have thought this was a thing?
One of those tricky things.
I know. All right, 20 seconds. Brewers are on their way to Queens to play the New York Mets Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all night games. Pregame starts at 5:35 tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday on several Civic Media stations. Head over to the app for details. And then they're off to Miami for the 4th of July weekend to play the Marlins. They are back home a week from tonight for a series against the LA Dodgers. And then the Washington Nationals come to town, and then it's the All-Star break. It's hard to believe we're getting to that point already, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We got the 4th of July weekend coming up as well. After a short work week for this program and for Matt and Air on Air with Jane Matt and Greg Bach. Jane, how are you?
I am well, Mr. Kreitlow, and yourself.
Good. Had a nice, relaxing weekend at home.
You guys had a lot of rain up there, didn't you?
We got a lot of rain. We got nearly 3 inches. The river is really high right now. It's green. Things are very lush and green around here. So, how about you?
Mine
What'd
too.
you do?
I did Saturday. I don't know what it was like, but in southeastern Wisconsin, Saturday was like the penultimate perfect summer day.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't humid. It was so nice out. So I did a real lazy, I sat on the patio and I read and, just dinked around. And so yesterday I thought, I'm going to be ambitious today. Today it's going to be 92 degrees with 79% humidity.
Yes.
So I went out yesterday morning. I thought early enough to get some weeding done. I went out about 10 o'clock. That was not early enough.
No.
But my question is, am I the only one who swears when you weed?
Oh, no,
Because
not at all.
I think about my neighbors who are right on the other side of the fence when I was weeding yesterday, and I'm the thistles in particular.
Oh yeah,
I have
thistles are the worst.
I have particular favorite curse words for those, and they must say, who is she? She's fighting with some invisible person in her backyard, and she's talking about stabbing it. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we should move.
Oh God, no, I totally get it, and I think as well it's a function of our occupation where we are very aware of when microphones are live and when we have to mind our P's and Q's.
Yeah.
And so, so there are some broadcasters, especially in radio, that, they have the worst potty mouths in the world because you have to be so nice on air.
Yes, exactly. And I tell you, broadcasting is where I learned how to swear.
Oh, same here. Oh, I learned it from a director. I was operating the camera and I heard, every invective possible over the headsets. And thank goodness the headset chatter never went out live over the air.
Right?
Because you didn't do it right. You heard about it, man.
Oh, yeah. The most creative cursing I have ever heard is like, I never even thought about putting those two things together.
I did the same thing from somebody else at a different TV station. Taught me a curse that I did not know existed to that point. But
didn't even know that was possible.
Yep, but there they are, and lightning didn't strike or anything. What is coming up on your program this week?
Well, Civic Media's news director now, Charlie Pittman, is joining us on Mondays after the 9:30 news. Not like because news never breaks over the weekend. Nothing ever happens on weekends. News never drops on Friday afternoons. So Charlie joins us now on Mondays to give us a recap of where we are, what's going on, what happened over the weekend. And then a little bit later on in the show, I do want to start off with, obviously, we're going to talk about the budget. And who knew there was a spine? There's at least one spine among Thom Tillis. Wow.
Well, a spine long enough to go,
Ish.
no, and then I'm not running for re-election.
Exactly. But I guess I will at least give him, because he looks like he's going to vote no.
Yeah.
But now
Well,
it better be a solid no all the way through, or otherwise that little bit of spine he had, even that's not going to count for very much.
But there's no, a John McCain who I'm going to tell you no, and I'm not quitting or anything.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't agree with you. And there is no thorn in Trump's side right now in his own party. I mean, just jellyfish all the way through.
Well, look at our very own Ron Johnson.
Oh my goodness.
We all knew he was going to capitulate. It was just
let's go spelunking with Ron Johnson. He's caving.
I heard you say that this morning when I was coming in. That was great. Yeah, we all knew he was going to cave. It was just on what is he going to give in, because his strong, I can't do this. This is wrong. Oh, well, whatever.
I don't think he's done yet, because the one 8 years ago that got him to cave was, a sweetheart tax deal that benefited him.
Right.
Now, the reason he's caving this time around, he says, is because he hates the Affordable Care Act so much. He hates that people, have stable and affordable health care coverage. And so he got this promise to go even harder at the Affordable Care Act and rip health care away from more people. But that doesn't personally benefit him. So I'm still looking for something else here.
You're right. That's interesting. There should be some little kiss in there, for Rojo's vote.
Right.
Because like you said, that's what he got last time. And
but we didn't recognize at the time how much he was going to personally benefit. That came out in a report, like a year later. So the story will eventually come out of how Ron Johnson went from profile and courage to spelunker. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got.
We could all chip in together and buy him one of those miner hats, Pat, with a little light on the front.
Oh, we don't have to do that. That's the beauty of Photoshop. AI.
Hey Parker, there's your job for later on this afternoon.
Ooh,
yep.
Time to learn Photoshop. I didn't know that was on the bucket.
That and a little AI illustration will do you a lot of good. Matt and Aaron on air coming up right after the 9 o'clock news here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Jane, thank you so much. Say hi to Greg for us, and we'll see you in a little bit.
I will go swear at those thistles.
That's right. I'm next. Yes. For me, it was buckthorn. And I'm always happy to swear at those. And yes, I was doing that over the weekend. My thanks to today's guest, Jeff Mandell from Law Forward, Michael McElroy from the North Carolina Cardinal and Pine, part of Courier Newsroom, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, Selena Heller, Jimmy Kuska, John and Gordy, Jane Matinair, and of course, Parker Olson. And thanks to all of you for being a part of things here this morning. I'm Pat Kreitlow, founding editor for Up North News. Up North News is part of Courier Newsroom, a pro-democracy news network building a more informed, engaged, and representative America. Follow us on social media and sign up for our newsletters, upnorthnewswi.com. Have a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow morning here up north. And there we go. Up,
Ta-da.